Chapter 82. A stared out over the ocean that was laid out before him. Night had fallen and they had finally hit the coast of the land of hot waters. From here, it would be a cautious and silent journey to Yuzushio's islands. They couldn't be caught before they made landfall. Any warning to that brat before then would spell disaster and a wasted effort. It wouldn't be just skill beyond this point, but more than a little bit of luck. Behind him and setting up camp, Atsui and the others were focused on their tasks while B was gearing himself up for another round of trying to convince A of turning back. It would have been beneficial to wait until the others went to sleep, but time was not on his side. He hadn't had much of a chance during their travels, and he wouldn't have another chance once morning came. It had to be now. Clearing his throat as he walked to stand on A's right, B tried to start slow. You know, it's probably not the best idea to leave Kumo without some of its heaviest hitters right now? Are you sure this is worth the risk? Not responding to B, A scowled. It had been days of this. B skirting around what he really wanted to say. The idle chit-chat, quiet hints and suggestions. Always the same thing. Don't go to Yuzushio. Don't fight the Uzumaki. Let your shame go. His anger was finally ready to boil over. B. Enough with this. Turning harshly to face his partner, A had a finger within an inch of B's nose. Say what you want to say clearly or let it go. We don't have time for this back and forth. Behind them both, those setting up camp went silent. Watching their leader and their Jinchuriki and wondering if a different sort of conflict was going to start up before they even made it to Yuzushio Gakure. Grunting and at a loss for what to do, B decided to bull through. A wasn't the only one who could be stubborn. Fine. You want me to come clean, I will. This is foolish and you're a fool. You're starting a war over your pride and I want nothing to do with it. You're going to drag all of us into this, and what are we to gain? B motioned back the way they came, to the line of trees where they had been traveling non-stop for the last few days. Decades of trying to breed Uzumaki blood into our village, and for what? A couple of half-breeds who barely show their traits? Are we really going to risk everything just to repeat that? You should know better than this. A turn to face B fully with his arms crossed over his broad chest. You certainly have a lot of nerve to speak up now. Don't think your hands are clean in any of this. A stepped forward, well within B's personal space as his scowl deepened. You've been a dutiful Kumo shinobi, haven't you? Killing when required. Kidnapping when necessary. Breeding when ordered? How many captives have you lain with B? How many Uzumaki have you killed, full blood or otherwise? There was a pause as A's voice lowered to a whisper. Who's Karui's father, Killer B? A paused once more as he could see the instant rage that passed over B's face. He knew the Jinchuriki wanted nothing more than to hit him with everything he had. Duty and their shared history wouldn't allow him to. You're a Kumo shinobi through and through. Don't try to lecture me now about what any of this is worth. We started a job, a mission. It's time to finish it. B turned away, walking a few steps to stare out over the ocean while his mind buzzed with white noise. That pig-headed asshole. How dare he? How, taking deep and even breaths, he did his best to still his raging heart. This wasn't how this was supposed to go. It was supposed to be easier than this. I was supposed to listen to him. Listen to reason. Just. Why? Turning back to the wreckage, B pointed a similarly burly finger at the man. And what of you? If you don't kill Naruto, you know what he will do. What he promised. Are you so sure you can kill him? We will kill him. We have no choice. I could see this was over. B had no real argument here. Stuck as he was in his emotions, B would follow orders in the end. Because it is either we allow Yuzushio to destroy our way of life, our legacy, or we crush them like we did before. It is the one mantra that was given to us throughout the years. The Uzumaki cannot live. We cannot coexist with them. You know it. I know it. I sighed and went back to staring out over the ocean's waters. Get your head on straight, Killer B. We have a mission to carry out in the morning. And I will not put up with this in the morning. B cursed, turning away from A and stalking away towards the trees. Something will need to be straightened out by morning. That is for sure, wreckage. And then he was gone, vanishing into the tree cover. A huffed, projecting his voice to the three-man team who were frozen between the two behemoths before them. Don't you worry. B just gets worked up before missions like this. He'll be right as rain come morning. I turned back and nodded to them all in turn, eat and rest. We have a long day ahead of us tomorrow. Yes, Lord Rakage. All three answered in unison, while unknowingly, they were united in their thoughts. Just what would tomorrow hold for them? Would Bee come back? Or would their mission be that much harder come the morning? Away from the group, but well within sensing range, Bee grumbled and did his best to rid his mind of the argument he just had with A. Of all the arrogant blowhards. Gyuki chuckled, you're certainly one to talk. Don't start. I'm angry enough as is. Oh touchy. You don't like it? Tough. There was plenty he said that he wasn't wrong about. Was he, Defiler? You have some nerve. You've been right here along for the ride the entire time. Anger reaching a peak, Bee lashed out. A fist flashed out to obliterate a 4-foot-thick tree trunk, sending the massive tree to crash to the ground in a tortured cacophony of sound. You could have renounced me at any time. Could have spoken out against me. Against us. And yet, you've been here right along for the ride. Not a word of complaint. Do you not remember what I am, Bee? Gyuki sighed and pulled his chakra a bit more inward. This was a conversation they had not had in a long while. Depressing really. I am a mirror. I am what you show me. Show me your jovial and carefree side, and there I am, much the same. Show me the determined do-or-die ninja and soldier, and I will be the same. My memories are only those that I am allowed to have. Experiences curated by my hosts through the years. Do I come to terms that things that are perpetrated by you and yours are wrong? Of course, because I assume that it is for the greater good. But this? What has happened in the last few decades? I have more experience now, and it is harder to explain it away. Gyuki pulled yet more of himself away from Bee. I can admit that we did wrong. Can you do the same? Wrong? Wrong. Bee laughed, a bitter and sorrowful noise leaving his throat. It thinks to lecture me on what is right or wrong. I am a soldier. With a duty to my home and people. And yet, this goes beyond that duty. I have my orders. Bee sighed finally. Mind finally clearing. I hadn't been wrong. Bee was submerged in the filth of this world. Redemption for him was never an option. There was no room for cold feet. Not anymore. Maybe after this. Maybe in another time, he could spend the rest of his waking hours atoning for these sins. We have a mission to complete, Gyuki. No, that brought Bee up short. Gyuki wanted to deny him? Now? After everything they had been through together? Turning in place with the moon at his back, Bee nearly snarled in the empty air, no? What the hell do you mean no? Exactly what I said, Killer Bee, no. I will have no part of this. It is wrong. Even more, this is a foolish plan with a foregone conclusion. You will all die. Bee grit his teeth, having a hard time believing this. You seem to forget, you've been along for the ride all this time. Yeah. Even during my darkest times. You aren't clean either. Whose chakra did I need to break Uzumaki seals, How guilty can a parasite be for the actions of its host? Fighting enemies and protecting your home is one thing. But everything else? You didn't need me for that. And the others, had I really known what was happening, I never would have aided you. Gyuki pulled a more substantial amount of its chakra from Bee's network. Pulling himself into a dense and untouchable core, I'll sit this one out. Have fun. Bee shook his head, mind clearing as he realized his partner was no longer such. With a thought, seals within himself came alive, and the Eight Tails chakra came roaring back to the forefront. I'm sorry, but you don't get to run away for this. Sighing and staring down into the ground as Gyuki raged in his newly formed cage, Bee shook his head, we're going to finish this. Because that is the only path left to us. Sealed more tightly and left without full control of his chakra, Gyuki raged internally. I promise, Killer Bee, when you die, the Shinigami will not be kind to you. Bee grunts as he walks back to the camp. Doesn't matter. This is for the safety and security of Kumo. I don't need anything else. He could see the fire again as he cut the connection between the two. No. He didn't need anything else right now. He had a mission ahead of him. Maybe things would have been different if he had fought Naruto on that overlook at that hot spring so long ago. Maybe if he had concrete proof that fighting the boy was a fool's errand. Life was full of too many maybe situations. It was time to find out for certain who was stronger. Scene change across the ocean and settling himself onto the soft earth, Naruto made a place for himself next to a contemplative Sasuke. The Uzumaki and Uchiha houses were quiet, most everyone gone to sleep already or preparing themselves for such. This gave both young men a chance to talk, staring up into the starlit sky above them. Sasuke's eyes turned downward, eyes on the mirror-like surface of the lake, the stars and the moon reflected there much like his thoughts. What's next, Naruto? I can tell you've had something on your mind all day. Heaving a sigh, Naruto kept his eyes on the heavens, no longer so sure they offered the usual peace he hoped for. I had a little sit-down with Zetsu today. Things are not good. He explains quietly the conversation he had with Zetsu and the revelation about Kaguya and her people. Through it all, Sasuke sat in silence and watched the stars cross the sky from the water surface. So Kaguya wasn't of this world and more like her were coming? Yeah, more than a little troubling. So, say we pack up the family and jump ship? You figure out how to cross worlds yet? He knew Naruto never would. But in the same breath, this was bigger than anything they had faced yet. The likes of Itachi or even the other villages paled before this threat. Naruto huffed, crossing his legs and placing his hands on his knees. Don't tempt me. I love my people. But the thought of my family, the kids, of any of them dying because of this. I'd send them as far as I need if it means they live through this. Taking another steadying breath, Naruto looks down into the calm waters of the lake with Sasuke. Not that they'd let me. They all would fight me tooth and nail to stay. Sasuke hums at that. Would you listen? Don't ask me that, Sasuke. Sorry. Just. Would Sasuke listen? If he had the power to send Sakura and Amaru away to safety against their will, would he do it? Knowing they would hate him? It was better than watching them die. Anything would be better than knowing he failed them. Grunting, Naruto shook his head. In the end, we don't know anything yet beyond that we need more information. Which means we need to decide whether to revive Kaguya or not. Oh great, another super-powered woman. I give her 10 minutes before she jumps your bones. The Uchiha is on my side. You both are idiots. Naruto shook his head with a chuckle as Sasuke joined in. But seriously. If we want to know what comes next, we need her. So why ask me? Sasuke turned to face Naruto, and instantly didn't like the grin on the other man's face. What? Well, bringing her back requires a bit of prep. I have to go and retrieve a body. Uchiha Madara's to be exact. Blinking, Sasuke put a finger to his ear and wiggled it around some. Pulling it free and flicking away some wax, he turned to Naruto again. Sorry, could you repeat that? There was something crazy in my ear. I have to grave rob Uchiha Madara's body in order to prepare a vessel for Kaguya's return. Nope, still doesn't compute, say that one more time. Oh, don't be an ass. Hearing someone tell you they have to dig up the body of a long-lost ancestor once considered a living calamity is not something normal people would be used to. Seeing Naruto level bored eyes his way, Sasuke shrugged, yes I know you and I aren't normal. But the point stands. Sure it does. Naruto returned to looking out over the lake while Sasuke thought about things for a moment. Fireflies were beginning to make their way out, lighting up the lake shore all around them with pale green flickers of light. Sasuke finally grunted and leaned back on his hands. Is this a good idea? Probably not. But if there is a bigger threat on the way beyond Kaguya, we need to know. That's true. Sasuke sighed, deciding to come clean about something here and now. After hearing about all of this, I do admit that I've been feeling different lately. Like something at your core has been slowly eroding away? Sasuke's eyes were instantly on Naruto. Did he know? Of course he did. Damn sage. More like, something integral to my humanity is slipping away. A dry chuckle left Naruto's throat. I don't know how much of our humanity is really left after all of this. You were never human to begin with. You explosion maniac. Hush, you'll probably start growing horns or something stupid like that. Both young men again shared another laugh before settling down. Naruto, with a contemplative look on his face as he considered his brother. You can sit this fight out, you know. You still have a clan to rebuild, and don't have any heirs on the way just yet. Shut it. You were there for me with Itachi. You were willing to sacrifice everything before you secured your clan. I can do the same. Sasuke shrugged as Naruto gave him a disgruntled look. If I have to give up what little humanity I have left, so be it. Besides. Here Sasuke made eye contact with Naruto, eyes swirling into his eternal Mangekyo. I made a promise to burn down the world if it kept my loved ones safe. So I'm in it till the end, brother. Better not regret this. Only thing I would regret is sitting back and watching you take this on alone. You're such a good little brother. You're only a few months older than me, don't get cocky. Sure thing, little bro. I'm never calling you big bro. You just did. You know what I mean, you ass. Nope, nope. That's in my memory forever. I'll treasure it. I'm gonna sick Naruto on you when she gets back. Naruto began to pout. You wouldn't. Seeing Sasuke smirk as his eyes bled back into his usual black, Naruto pouted more. She's a spore. Don't tempt her. Giggling reaches their ears, a quiet Sakura joining them on the bank to sit between them as she slung her arms around both of their waists. What is it with you both, and trying to leave me out of things? Sasuke sighed, letting the brawler hug him tightly. Sakura. Nope, don't you Sakura me. I know plotting when I see it. So whatever craziness you're about to get into, I'm in. Shaking his head, Naruto looked past her to Sasuke. Can't you, I don't know, put your wife to bed properly? The sweat to his head could have been avoided, but he didn't feel like ending up in the lake. Oh, fuck off, Naruto. I've been by your sides every step of the way where I could be. You aren't leaving me behind this time. Short hair swaying in the breeze, Sakura nodded her head firmly once to the blonde. I get you both are world-ending levels of strong, but I'm no slouch either. Here she pulls back, a large book appearing from somewhere to be held up for Naruto's inspection. It was an Uzumaki tome, if he had to guess, by the large family crest on its front. Plus, I've been doing more reading myself. So, wanna bring me up to speed on just what the hell a jubi is? Naruto again turns to Sasuke and shrugs. Your call. Is it really? The pinch to his thigh was enough of an answer, and he began to fill Sakura in on everything they knew up to now. Including the possibility that Kaguya wouldn't be the end of things. Well, I'm up for a little grave robbing. Because from the sound of it, you both are going to have to trade. Seeing Naruto and Sasuke give her confused looks, Sakura grinned. Finally. Naruto is going to need the Sharingan, and Sasuke is going to need the Rinnegan. Duh. Sasuke turned to Naruto, did you know that? News to me. Sakura preened and smirked, that's why I'm the brains of the operation and you both are my lackeys. Naruto relaxed finally, laying back on the grass to stare up into the sky. You know what, yeah. I'll leave all the planning up to you, Sakura. Let me focus on blowing things up for a while. Sasuke nodded, doing the same on Sakura's other side. I like that idea. Thinking isn't my strong suit either. Wait a minute, you slackers. Get back up, this is a team effort. Team 7 would spend a few more hours planning and solidifying themselves before turning in. Tomorrow would be a busy day, and they needed to secure the future. Not just for themselves, but for everyone the world over. Time to save the world. Scene change. It was early in the land of whirlpools. The sun was just beginning to peek over the horizon, and with it the early day workers and commuters. Already the first wave of trains were steaming up, while the trolley cars rang their bells to signal their fares. A typical start for the island nation and its capital city. Though in its main tower, a different sort of start was underway. Naruto had gathered the ninja members of his family along with Team 7 and the Suna siblings. His office was certainly crowded, but this was an announcement that he only wanted to make once. Plus, Gaara had mentioned that he needed to be underway early today. Gaara was standing before his desk, a satisfied grin on his face, while a tired-looking Kankuro mumbled about wanting to stay. With no threat from Iwa, it seems to be best if we return to Suna. We have out-injured to take care of as well. Sighing but understanding, Naruto nodded in agreement. I appreciate the assist, Gaara. It looks like we'll have some time before Kumo thinks to try anything, so we should be good from here. Reaching out across his desk, Naruto firmly shakes Gaara's hand. Take care of yourself, huh? I'll come and visit you next time. You better. And bring Temari back in one piece. The way Temari had claimed a spot on one of Naruto's couches next to a tired-looking Ino and Kotoheim was more than enough sign that she didn't plan on leaving. She'd be back to traveling between the two villages soon enough, but for now there was bonding to be done. No little surprises though, okay? Temari chuckled. Oh, it won't be a surprise. Kankuro and Naruto both sighed at the same time, while Gaara started to drag his older brother towards the door. Take care, Yuzukage. You yourself, Kazekage. Naruto and group watched the pair leave, before all eyes turned back to Naruto. Now for the not fun part. Ino of course, could see his reluctance. So, you've got us all up early for an announcement. We taking bets on what this may be? Hinata walked over to sit in one of the vacated chairs while Sasuke and Sakura leaned against the rear windows. Maybe a small trip? We haven't had one in a while. Though the last one had been interrupted, it had still been amazing. Watching Tayuya sit on one edge of his desk quietly, already somewhat in the know, Naruto sighed and leaned back. Ino was already giving him the stink eye. I've got to take a short trip. Today. There was silence, until he dropped what was sure to set them off. Alone? Absolutely not. Hinata nearly surged to her feet in her haste. Irritation on her usually calm features. No way. What could be so important? Karen was the same, taking a step forward while next to her Onoka nodded along in agreement. We just got done defending ourselves from Iwa and Kumo together. What could be so important now? Kotoheim usually gave Naruto the benefit of the doubt when it came to his plans. But just off from a conflict? What could be so urgent? Through the raised voices and chatter between the girls, Naruto turned sad eyes to a quiet Tayuya. He had already told her she would have the chair for a few days. Even still, he could feel the sadness radiating off of her along with everyone else. Kotoheim was the first to clue in that Tayuya, usually the most loudly outspoken of them, was being very quiet. The girls around her going quiet, Kotoheim pointed at the lightly muscled redhead. You know something. Seeing the girls gearing up into a real tear, Naruto raises a hand to stop them. I promised you all I would explain things when I had answers, didn't I? Seeing slow nods all around, Naruto sighs and begins to explain. Everything. From the plight of the Uzumaki and the Uchiha. To the now confirmed manipulation of not just the clans but entire nations. Further back, to what information he had about Kaguya and possibly her clan of world enders. Anything and everything he had learned over the last few days he laid bare to them all. When he was done, there was even more silence. Naruto could see that all of the girls were thinking hard, some trying to rationalize it, while others looked to be trying their best to plan and consider things. Tayuya had shimmied down to his lap, taking comfort as he held her close. That she was willing to be so publicly soft in front of everyone told him enough about hers and the rest's mindsets. How did one fight a god? Could anyone fight a god? Onoka is the first to tentatively start things off. If you have to revive Kaguya, how can you possibly contain her? She's the beginning of everything related to chakra, right? Will anything we do even work on her? Naruto shrugged. She was sealed once. And that is our specialty. He had to put on a brave face here. Make it seem like Kaguya's threat was the lesser one. Even if he wasn't entirely sure if Uzumaki seals would work on her. Hinata sighed, hands rubbing her tummy slowly as she stared at her lap, to think now of all times. When will we ever catch a break? Kotoheim leaned into Ino with a sigh, an arm coming around her shoulders while one hand of her own was rubbing her belly. We're Uzumaki. We don't get a reprieve. Karen looks to Naruto, eyes firm as she clenches her fists at her sides. Okay. So. What can we do? Naruto allowed his eyes to shift into the Rinnegan to better make his point clear. This next part one have to do. Retrieving the body of Uchiha Madara, while relatively easy, may have some complications. Naruto raised a hand to wave towards Sasuke and Sakura. These two are staying behind to watch over Uzushio while I'm away. Nothing short of maybe B and Han together can take Sasuke down, so there shouldn't be anything to worry about. Sakura shrugged as she nudged Sasuke. I'm pretty sure I can put you down all alone. We're talking about in a fight. Uh-huh. Sakura had a smug grin on her face as Sasuke turned to face her. Try me. I'd rather not. Women are sneaky. Naruto shook his head at their antics, but appreciated feeling some of the tension in the room fade away. The rest of you, I need you to continue things as normal for the most part. Though, Kotoheim, Tayuya, Hinata, I'd prefer it if you stayed in the compound while I'm gone. I thought I shouldn't have to explain why. All three of the currently pregnant women all exchanged glances with one another. It was Hinata who stood and bowed to him deeply. If that is what you wish, we'll stay within the walls and stay safe. Ino however held up a hand, but, I call bull on you doing this all alone. Naruto sucked his teeth, I just said this is a literal world-ending threat. I would feel much better if you're all here. Safe. Ino shook her head, standing with her arms crossed. No way. We promised to stay at each other's sides, didn't we? To take care of one another. For the good and bad. She turned to exchange nods with all of the girls, before turning back to Naruto. Someone needs to go and watch your back. And if you're so worried, two of us then. Scrubbing at his hair and nearly pulling his ponytail free, Naruto was starting to get frustrated. The family comes first. Then the city. I can take care of myself. Clearing her throat, Temari gained a smirk as she stood and came to stand next to Ino. Well, unlike the others, I'm not currently knocked up and I have nothing to do here while you're gone. So I can go with and watch your back. Ino agrees right away, coming over and slinging an arm over Temari's shoulders, and I'm currently free and healthy as well. I'm not integrated with the barrier teams like Karen and Anoka. Or knocked up like Kotoheim, Tayuya, or Hinata. Here she smirked and pointed a manicured finger at the exasperated-looking blonde leader. So looks like me and Temari are your shadows for this. Just in case. I'm trying to make sure nobody dies, damn it. Ino nodded, and we're trying to make sure of the same, Yubaka. Ready to launch into a well and truly long tirade, Naruto paused as Sasuke came forward and placed a hand on his shoulder. Looking up to his brother, Naruto sighed as Sasuke smirked but shook his head. Well shit. You know how this fight will end. Best not give them more ammo for later. Scrubbing his hair even harder as Tayuya giggled in his lap, Naruto finally gave up. Why did he have to fall in love with such headstrong women? And why did that make them that much hotter? Damn it all. We all come home alive and in one piece, get it? Temari chuckled and high-fived Ino. That's our line. Naruto grumbled some more as Tayuya kissed his cheek and worked herself up to stand. This is such a bad idea. There's no telling what may happen while we're gone. Tayuya finally spoke up, sauntering off to stand beside Ino and Temari. Either you take them or you don't leave at all. Here she turned back to face him, the others all standing to form up around them. That way, we face whatever comes all together, no matter the outcome. Naruto bit his tongue, wanting to say he would send them away to some far corner of the world or even another dimension before he let that happen. Instead, he just accepted it. They wanted to be by his side and he was loath to admit that it did make him feel a bit better. Alright, got it. Ino, Temari, you're with me. Naruto pushed his chair back to stand, looking at Sasuke and Sakura over his shoulder. Promise not to burn down my city while I'm gone? Sakura shrugged as Naruto walked towards his family. Might help revamp your main hospital or something. Nothing crazy. Nothing crazy, she says. Shaking his head, Naruto takes in his family. These girls had a lock on his heart, each and every one in their own way. Much like Sasuke, he would end the world for them. Hell, probably bring everything back and burn it all to ash a second time if required. Ino and Temari move to stand on either side of him, while Naruto puts a smile on his face and he exchanges hugs with each girl one by one. I'll be back quickly. A day, 2 at the most. Hinata hugs him tightly on her turn, tears held firm but nearly falling. We will get through this. As a family. That's a promise. Naruto nodded. On my word, right? Your word is law, beloved. Kotoheim sighed as he embraced her gently. 2 days, yes? Yup. Kotoheim let him go. I can restrain my urges for 2 days. You'd best return quickly. Karen was next, kissing him hotly, before backing away quietly. You idiot. Let us hope your good luck holds. Uzumaki luck is something, ain't it? Naruto chuckled as Anoka was next to hug him tightly. Embracing her in turn, he thought nothing of the quiet sob that left her. I'll be back. Everything will be all right. Can you promise that? Naruto nodded, backing away to stand between Ino and Temari. Naruto Uzumaki doesn't go back on his word, does he? Everything will be all right. Tayuya grinned, giving him a thumbs up, then get going so you can hurry up and return. While we haven't seen any activity from Kumo, nor any word about B, I'd still rather not give them a window for trouble. Naruto wrapped arms around Ino and Temari's waists. Understood. Back in a flash. I love you all. And then they were gone, a muted flash seeing them off. Sighing and taking a moment to collect herself, Tayuya eventually started to walk towards Naruto's desk. The sun was beginning to rise, which meant the real day was about to begin. I'm getting real tired of all these once-in-a-lifetime events happening so often. I want like a year, no, 5, of just boring normal life. Sakura chuckled as Sasuke huffed and shuffled to take up a spot on one of the couches. Welcome to the lunacy of Team 7 and magical ninja bullshit. Enjoy your stay. Sasuke shook his head, we aren't magical. You sure as hell aren't normal ninja. Hinata sighed, hugging herself for a moment, before hopping in place once and slapping her cheeks. Gaining everyone's attention, she turned determined eyes towards the remaining group. I'll be returning. Kotoheim, join me? Coming to stand next to the shorter woman who they all considered head wife, Kotoheim offered her a smile. It was Beloved's wish. Let's return home and keep an eye on the compound while he is away. Facing Tayuya, who took Naruto's chair, Hinata smirked. Go ahead and forward all interclan issues and communications my way from now on. I'll work from home. Tayuya waved them off. Got it. Give Kikyo and the others an update, would you? And let's not go nuts. He says he'll only be gone a day or two. Let's not jinx it. Karen taps a finger to Hinata's shoulder. I think I'll return with you. Best to stay near the clan and watch over things. Chuckling and shaking her head, Tayuya eyed up Karen. To think we finally found a way to get you out of your basement. Naruto would be foaming at the mouth right now. Rolling her eyes as the three girls embrace, Karen gives her the finger. Naruto has better ways of keeping me out of the basement. And then they were gone, leaving the remainder alone in the office. Anoka was the next to turn towards the door. I think I'll take a stroll to the barrier group and then check on the basement and Kabuto. After that I'll return. I think it's best to remain close at hand for now. Tayuya appreciated that. Thanks. I'm far along enough that my chakra is stable once more, but still. Don't want to test it. Winking at her co-wife, Anoka was out of the door. I'll be back soon. Taking the other side of the couch and pulling free a book on medical practices written by Tsunade herself, Sakura sighed and settled in for a hopefully boring day. We'll be keeping close at hand until Naruto returns. He was serious about us watching over Uzushio while he is away. Sasuke nodded, laying out with his head in Sakura's lap, ready to take a nap. Anyone shows up, they're getting a Susanoo-powered Amaterasu to the face. Tayuya was already gearing herself up to attend to her duties. Leave it to Naruto's longest friends to clear the air completely in his absence. Let's hope it stays boring then. Once more, she considered Uzumaki's luck, and hoped Naruto's own good fortune would rub off on the rest of them. She certainly didn't want to jinx anything. Leaning forward, she pressed the button for the intercom. Yujito, you there? Yes, Lady Uzumaki? Their resident Jinchuriki defector sure sounded chipper. Lucky her. Let's run through things quickly, I don't want to spend all day here. Yes ma'am. Scene change. Tsunade could feel every day weigh on her just a bit more than the one before it. Was the hospital coming up to her standards easily enough? Oh sure. Was the council being on its best behavior ever since Danzo's retirement? Absolutely. And yet, as her window creaked open with all the subtlety of a hammer through fine china, there was always some new stress. Please tell me you have good news. Jiraiya chuckled as he relaxed in the windowsill, twirling a pen between dexterous fingers. I'd consider me being alive some good news. Debatable. Aheim, what about that hot springs trip? You know, that thing I do with my dash. Finish that sentence, and they'll never find the body. Rolling his eyes, Jiraiya pulled free his notebook and tossed it into her waiting hands. Aim is sitting this one out. Pain specifically is going to wait and see what Naruto does. He thinks Naruto is going to go off the deep end, but I've convinced him that there might be a better way. Tsunade hummed thoughtfully, going through his notes with a careful eye. Aim had been caught in between multiple wars at this point. She had always assumed that they had never reached out for help due to pride. But now she was seeing that it was more that everyone seemed to forget about them. So, you offered Konoha's resources in order to build goodwill between our nations? Grin firmly in place, Jiraiya shook his head. Correction. I offered Konoha's resources with no real strings attached. If they still hate us afterwards, well, so be it. That brought Tsunade up short, turning in her chair to fully stare at the old goat, who was her teammate. You're serious? Seeing his grin still firmly in place, Tsunade sighed and leaned back in her seat, a hand coming up to message her temples. Of course you are. I'll suppose it isn't a bad idea. Even if AIM still hates us afterwards, it'll put other nations in a bind. Either they'll have to offer help as well to not fall behind or watch as potentially AIM and Fire come together. TSK Tsunade, you're thinking in the old ways still. Jiraiya held out his hands as he relaxed a bit more. This is about changing how we do things. War isn't the name of the game. We're looking to build relationships. Bring peace. End this nightmare of bloodshed. It isn't about who's going to be on top in the end. And yet, not everyone thinks like you or me. But the number skews our way a little more every day. Jiraiya finally stood, as Tsunade turned back to her desk. Then he was behind her, gently working her shoulders and getting an appreciative sigh out of her for his troubles. This is a good thing. I promise. Aim will come around, and at least that's one more player off the board. Refusing to admit that she had been worried and had missed the big oaf, Tsunade accepted his ministrations for a short moment. Now to just get the council on board with raising funds. We're finally about to make our last payment to the Uzumaki. A goodwill mission might be a hard sell. Feeling someone coming, Jiraiya retreated back to the window, taking pride in the moan of regret from the woman. Either way, this is for everyone's future. Hard sell or not, it keeps things peaceful. Says you. There was a knock at her door, and Tsunade straightened herself up. Enter. Door opening, Tsunade and Jiraiya were met with a flash of pearly teeth. Good morning, Hokage-sama. Team guy reporting for duty. Behind the ever-cheerful guy was a tired-looking Kiba, while Shino had his hand stuffed in his jacket and Lee nearly bounced on his toes. Tsunade nodded and rooted about her desk. Thanks, guy. Not something urgent, but I have a mission that I'd like completed quickly. Here she pulled free a half-meter storage scroll and tossed it to her jonin, that is for the Uzumaki clan. You are to head to Uzushio and present that to the Uzukage. Our last payment. Guy saluted smartly, it shall be done quickly and efficiently. And if not, I shall repent by walking between Konoha and Yuzu 5 times, with boulders tied to my back. Lee holds up a clenched fist, eyes streaming tears while Shino and Kiba both sighed heavily, truly inspiring Guy-sensei. Why, if we should fail, I shall complete your task with you, with twice the weight. Your youth burns strongly, Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Tsunade slammed both hands down on her desk, rattling the entire office and preventing any manly embraces from happening. Keep that up and I'm tossing both of you idiots into the monument. Get out of here. Guy saluted again before turning to leave with his team. We shall be back within the week, Hokage-sama. Rolling his eyes as the team left, Jiraiya chuckled at Tsunade's frustration. So, how does retirement sound? That an offer to take my place? 'Cause I have a beachside condo with my name on it and grandkids to soon spoil the hell out of. Tsunade had to hand it to the little brat. He sure worked fast. Good for him. Me in control of the ninja forces. Does that mean I can set a dress code? Why do I love you again? I must have brain damage. It's 'cause I'm good at what I do. I'm going to bash your face in. It'll be a wonderful way to go, Heim. It was sure good to be home. Scene change. Shokiro considered just how easy it was to return to Kumogakure and nearly wept. It was all but impossible for any of them to leave on their own, but getting in? With his chakra forcible repressed and only practical affects needed for his disguise, the gate guards were none the wiser. Even more, this high up in the mountains as they were Kumo was used to monks using their village as a pilgrimage site. So his first day here had been easy enough. Set himself up as his disguise required in a smaller and nearly abandoned temple, and spent his days wandering the city and offering prayers to any who asked. There were few takers, but it was okay. Access to all corners of the city was all he was really after. After all, setting up a barrier was long work. Shokiro had considered just annihilating Kumo off the map day one, knowing that everyone here was either a ninja, affiliated with a ninja, or supported them nearly 100%. That said, some part of him wanted to find some redemption in this place. Someone who could prove they could change. Today turned all of those thoughts to ash. Taking a bit of a rest in the village center, resting against the fountain there while considering the next point he needed to inspect to set up a barrier relay, on this day he spotted someone he thought he would never see again. Bright red hair on display, dusky skin contrasting with the dusty surroundings, Shokiro set eyes on one of the few Uzumaki children to make it out of the pens. Karui looked healthy enough, except for the dark bags under her eyes. She did not look like she had been sleeping well lately. Well, if anyone in the village might be persuaded, maybe it would be her, an Uzumaki. Standing with a groan, he shuffled his way towards the tired-looking woman. Karui had not been having a great time of things since returning. While Lord Kazakage had said her probation would be short, he hadn't said what her return to duty would look like. When Omoi had been selected to return to Uzushio to complete the mission, she had assumed she would be included as well. That was not to be, of course. No. She was Kumo's last remaining Uzumaki, and considered much too valuable to be risked. Instead, she had been given an option. Well, that was a strong statement in itself, she considered. Her team had been captured and her partner had returned unharmed from a nation that loved the Uzumaki nearly to the point of worship. Interrogators didn't come out and say outright that she was possibly responsible, but it was there. She understood the threats. So, they had given her a choice. Check into the pens herself, or willingly take a partner. So here so was, little sleep available these days, but if it would prove that she was still a loyal ninja of Kumo, then so be it. This was her home, who she was loyal to. She would not yield before this task. At least Darui was the gentle sort. She nearly missed the monk joining her as she walked through the market. You look troubled, young one. Care to release some burdens? Pausing and turning to the man, she considered if she knew him before dismissing it outright. No. Why would she know a monk? Especially one as old and frail looking as this one. I don't think you can shoulder these ones, old man. Shokiro shrugged, cool eyes sliding over their surroundings before landing back on her. I am old, little lady. I have seen and done many things. Perhaps I can provide perspective you have yet to consider. Perspective, huh? Karui knew enough about that these days. But she decided to walk with the monk anyway. Weren't they the ones who only spoke to those that needed it? And kept secrets to the grave? Well, she could vent, if only a little. Maybe. Karui looked down to the dirt as they walked along, leaving the market district as she returned home. She wanted to see her bed and sleep for a solid 8 hours finally. I think, what does it take to make a good shinobi? A typical worry of the military forces, no matter the time period. I would assume, dedication to doing what is just and right, while also following orders to the best of your ability. Yeah, but how much sacrifice is too much? Karui sighed as she considered that she didn't want to be a mother so soon. But her only saving grace might be that Lord Rakich might return with some of the breeders that were stolen. At least then she might be allowed to return to duty. Ken, no. If you knew you were only here to provide one thing, would it be enough to exist just for that? Ah, so she was a child of the program then, not one of the few captured. Dreadful. You are human, to want more is natural and healthy. There is always another choice, another path one can take. Shokiro wanted to see this girl free of this place. She was an Uzumaki, surely she wanted to be free. But, what if you don't want more? Karui turned to face the stooped old man, listening to his staff jingle as the street they were on was much more deserted. I'm a good Kumo shinobi. I would die for Kumo. Can't that be enough? Oh. No. Is dying to prove your worth necessary to you? Can you not consider another life anywhere else? This was a bit freeing. Nice even. No. I love Kumo. I would not be here if not for it and its ninja. I guess I just need reassurance that I'm doing the right thing. If I'm willing to die, what's sacrificing my body for a short time? Karui huffed and gave a small smile. That was right after all, this was only temporary. She would return to the ninja ranks and show them all that she was the most loyal of them all. Every village is the same anyway. Wouldn't the greatest sin be to betray the trust instilled in me? Shokiro could see the hope re-enter the girl's eyes and nearly wept. But, he could see that this was a life she wanted, not that it had much longer anyway. But, best to let her have peace in the end. So long as you have come to terms with what you want in life, no one can take that from you. There are always other paths, other lives we can make. But finding value in the life one has is up to them. No one can decide for you what you wish to do. Shokiro paused, letting Karui pull away from him for a few paces, before sighing, there is always another path. But nirvana is realizing you can find peace on any one of them. Karui turned back to the old man, nodding to him, yeah. Thanks, old man. I didn't realize I needed that. Tilting her head as the feeling of recognition washed over her again, the redhead frowned just a bit. Have we met before? No, child. You and I have never met. But maybe we will again in the next life? Turning away, Shokiro considered the next barrier point to place. There were only a few more left to add and this wretched village would be gone. He didn't bother to watch Kara return and renew her walk with a new spring in her step, or worry over just what Kumo was doing with her. She had obviously made peace with whatever it was, so far be it from him to steer her off that course. They were ninja, and had all chosen this life. Both for the good, and the inevitable bad end. Now, to finish one last mission. Scene change, Naruto grunted as the path before them began to open up. While the location had been given to him, he could only get so close with a Hiraishin. Which meant they had been traveling by the Treetop Express since then. Ino and Temari both together learned that they could team up near perfectly to push his buttons with mixed results. Case in point as the tree cover gave way to a wide but misty valley, forcing them to pause and consider their options. Temari was to his left, grabbing his attention and leaning forward a bit. So, where is this? Ever been here before? Resting her arms on her battle fan at her back, it pushed out her chest and did interesting things to her kimono. Naruto twitched and turned to the misty valley. Don't know the real name. Zetsu called it the resting place. There's a cave down there we need to find. Just what he needed, stuck in small enclosed places, with two hot women. When you say it like that, I worry about your sanity. Kurama was right. Why the hell was he going to complain? Keep close. I don't feel any other human chakra signatures down there. But there's definitely something alive down there. Ino shrugged, stretching her arms above her head and pushing her chest out. Two could play this game, it's just good to get out of the city for a bit. Even with everything going on, we have a plan, and that's all I need to feel better. Another twitch from Naruto had Ino smirking. Good, he wasn't too focused on the threat. At least his mental state was doing better. Naruto started to hop down the grassy incline down into the valley, wondering at why all the trees stopped at the valley's edge. Can you too? I don't know, not be horny for half a day? We need to focus. Ino giggled, oh we can focus on the mission, and you at the same time. Temari shrugged as she followed along with Ino, besides, how are you so sure we're having naughty thoughts? Naruto turned to look at both of them, one of my sage abilities is emotional sensing, in case you both forgot. Ino hadn't, but Temari had and blushed at being caught. Whoops. Ino instead had a different route, going full bore ahead instead. While she wasn't looking for a little one yet, some one-on-one time with Naruto would be nice. Plus, she was trying to keep him in a good mood. Fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck me, fuck dash Naruto threw his hands up as his lewd wife nearly exploded with hormones. Oh damn it all Ino. Well wasn't that a rush? Turning and pulling her into his arms, Naruto locked eyes with her. I will do anything and everything you want when we finish this? Got it? Be a good girl until then. Mind instantly frazzled and blushing up a storm at the sudden turn, Ino nodded dumbly, yes husband. Temari paused with them, blushing as Naruto let Ino go and stalked away. Kami, that was hot. Both girls rushed to catch back up with him, though the wind user leaned over to Ino, so what's the plan here? Shuddering and promising to get another reaction like that out of him later, Ino leaned towards Temari as well, for now. Keep his mind off of this Kagaya business as much as possible. He's stressed much more than I've ever seen him. And I don't like it. Humming and agreeing with the assessment, Temari could see that Ino was much more on the ball than she had thought. Okay, I'll follow your lead. Guessing the others are of the same idea? Seeing Ino nod as the group dived into the fog, Temari sighed. I finally get to be here full time, and we're already going through something crazy. Naruto didn't look back, but was beginning to circulate chakra through his body. Gonna clear the air, hold on. With a clap of his hands together, wind picked up around them before blowing away all of the mists. The sight that greeted them had all three blinking quietly. Birds took flight from roosts along the ground and from the rock walls from the rear of the valley. But it was what sat at the valley's center that had their attention. Temari had to admit, Uzumaki luck was certainly something. Is that a giant dragon skeleton? It was curled around itself, like it had maybe passed in its sleep. Well, if not for the equally massive hole in its skull, between two horns. I'll be damned. Ino sighed and turned to Naruto, somehow I shouldn't be surprised dragons are real. Didn't you say you felt something alive down here? Yup. But that thing is very dead. If you say so. Naruto started walking while girls hustled to catch up. Temari shuddered, it has to be dead, right? Ino shrugged. I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't. Somehow, I wouldn't be either. I fought the spirit of one. Well, fight was a strong word. Curb stomped is a better description. Point. Naruto paused, for while the skeleton offered no real cover or protection, he could just make out an opening in the ground under its head. Maybe? Uchihas were such drama queens. Somewhere far away, Sasuke and Sakura sneezed together. Guess this is it. Naruto led the way, taking note that already the mists were beginning to roll back in towards them. Seals at work? Or just nature? Temari couldn't keep her eyes off of the proof that a beast from legend was very real. Think Madara killed this thing? Idly her hand strayed to her fan, taking comfort from the weapon being there. Naruto shrugged. All told, Madara sounded like the type to try and tame one. Though if he failed, well yeah, he'd probably kill it just so no one else could try. The mists were closing in, but they were here under the dragon's snout. The cave entrance was an outcrop of rock jutting out from the ground, but it was pure darkness beyond the entrance. Keep close to me, let's not get separated. Right. Both girls answered in unison as Naruto's body began to glow as his sage cloak formed. Following him inside as the mists rolled in behind them, they sure hoped nothing awaited them in the darkness below. Chapter 83. Temari rubbed her arms, shuffling in place as she and Ino followed the glowing Naruto down into the cave below the skeleton of a dragon. Wasn't that a loop? Dragons were real and apparently didn't ever really die. But damn, was it ever cold down here. I'm gonna freeze at this rate. Ino nodded. I'd kill for pants. While the skirt was cute and fashionable, built for warmth it was not. Looking back at them, seeing both Temari and Ino suffering the same issue, Naruto paused to turn around and face them. Oh, I can warm you up. Temari blinked as Naruto gained a smirk, walking towards her with a determined look. Wait, hold on. I know Ino was teasing you, but this isn't the time. I need to ready my heart. She froze as Naruto placed a hand on both hers and Ino's shoulders. In an instant warmth filled her and her body began to glow gold, much like Naruto's. Oh. Huh. That's a nifty trick. Leaning in, he pecked the surprised Temari on the lips before turning to walk back the way they were headed. Keep your mind out of the gutter, Mari. We'll have fun later. Ino nudged her shoulder as she walked by, and I thought I was dirty. This was neat, all this chakra, and Naruto had who knew how much more to spare. Girl could get drunk off this. Shaking her head as she continued on after them, Temari enjoyed the new warmth. This is your fault. And don't think I don't realize what you're trying to do, Ino. Shrugging and following Naruto's back, Ino ran a hand along the narrow cave wall. There was chakra here. A lot of chakra. It's all so alive. What is this? Probably why Madara chose to die here. Either that or it's because of him. Naruto let his Rinnegan come forth, piercing the darkness ahead of them. No trap so far. Temari wondered at that, picking apart the puzzle that was the situation. Would you consider trapping your resting place when no one in the world even knows where you were? Considering that was sound logic, Naruto decided that he would absolutely trap his body. And everyone else's. Absolutely, rather not end up brought back to life by some idiot looking to take over the world. Naruto ducked under a lowered ceiling, making sure both of the girls didn't hit their heads, before continuing on the downward slope. Ino giggled. You talk like you're gonna turn into a final boss from a video game. I mean. Naruto motioned to his own body up and down once with a hand, before Ino huffed. Maybe Sakura is right. Magical ninja bullshit. Naruto pauses the group, the tunnel brightening with blue light as they come up to a wall of glowing rock. The surface almost looking liquid. Well, that's something. It was a shifting blue and green color that was almost enchanting. But Naruto could see a truly massive amount of seals shifting under its surface. That looked painful. Ino was reaching out, wanting to feel it for herself. It's so pretty. She paused as Naruto held up a hand. Trap? Yup. Hold on. Holding out a hand, Naruto's eyes flashed once, before the wall before them began to dissolve. Not really a liquid, but certainly not a solid. They all watched the material seep into the floor. Cool. He had to give that a go sometime. As they continued on, Ino pondered over that. What would have happened if I had touched that? Ever wanted to know what it was like to become one with the earth? Naruto could feel both girls' confusion, so he simplified it. It would have absorbed you and added you to its matrix to power itself nearly forever. Ah. And I bet super painful the whole way? Naruto nodded, that goes without saying. Yeah, I'll pass. Temari looks back towards where the barrier was, a curious look on her face. I don't know, sounds useful. Naruto holds up a hand as they come to another barrier, breaking it down with the same ease as before. I don't even want to think about it. Stepping past this last barrier, the trio came upon an open chamber, glowing in the same soft blue-green light that the barriers had been. The space wasn't large, maybe as big as his old apartment in Konoha. What they found against the back wall was what had their attention. Is that? Holy shit. Naruto nodded with a feral grin. Let me introduce Madara Uchiha. Constant pain in the ass to Hashirama Senju, and the strongest of the Uchiha clan. Period. The living human calamity. Former at least. Ino crossed her arms as Naruto walked up to the husk set into the wall, so I have to ask. Why were you so insistent that we get to Madara's body so quickly? Standing before the preserved body of the Uchiha heir and descendant of Kagaya, Naruto sighed. This wouldn't be a fun one. I was worried. Zetsu was working towards collecting the Biju quickly. I didn't want to take a chance that something worse than Kagaya was coming soon. I wanted the option to be able to bring her back at a moment's notice. Temari raised a single eyebrow, so now that you have Madara? Naruto released a scroll, working quickly to seal away Madara's body before turning back to the girls. Now besides Killer Bee's chakra, I should be able to bring back the goddess at any time. Ino stepped forward, a smirk on her face, so, about that. Where is Zetsu, exactly? Naruto had been cagey about that. She smelled a secret. Whoops. He hadn't admitted that he was playing with time and space again, had he? No, you didn't, Baka. I blame you. Blame me all you wish, it's your fault. And your funeral. Ino was suddenly in Naruto's personal space, very soft chest pressing against his own, so about that. Why did she have to be so hot? Whoops. Ino held his gaze, poking him in the chest. Explain. Pocket dimension that I can control, which has no concept of time unless I am present. Naruto could feel nervousness in his heart. Temari joined the other blonde woman, pressing herself against the Yuzukage, so. Hypothetically, we could drop into a pocket dimension for as long as we wished. Naruto wanted to back away, but realized he had nowhere to go. Switching between Temari's teal eyes and Ino's blue eyes was doing something to him. How about, once all of this is over and done, I'll show you how it works. Ino nodded quickly, pulling away with a smirk on her face. I can accept that. Temari shrugged, gives me time to adjust I suppose. Shaking his head, Naruto pulls free and tosses a Hiraishin tag to stick to the ceiling. And done. Time to return home. Ino considered things before snapping her fingers. I thought this was supposed to be dangerous? I was being cautious. I didn't know what we would find here. Temari looked around before holding out her arms, enough stored chakra to probably power a nation for centuries? Traps that would have pulled us apart by the atom? Ino did have to consider that, but you also undid those in like an instant. You want to go up and fight the dragon? Temari paused as Ino violently shook her head. Wait, it's dead right. You were joking, right? She watched as Naruto walked up to pick her up. Please tell me you're joking. Oh, his arms were firm. So many muscles. Ino placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder. Somehow, I don't think he is. Plus, I have the Hiraishin. I can be anywhere in an instant. Uzushio is never in danger, so long as I am free and alive. Naruto grinned as he extended out his senses. Let's return home with this desert rose. Blushing, Temari felt light, that was corny. In the next breath, they were back in Naruto's office with Ino grinning at her. He's full of those, but at least they were home and nothing was on fire. Always a plus. Naruto turned back to Tayuya, arms still full of Temari. We're back. See, it was quick. Even though he really wanted to go back and fight the dragon. Later, after the women are asleep. Sounds like a plan to me. Scene change. If there was a minor complaint Shokiro had for Kumo, it was that getting used to the high altitude had always been impossible for him. The thin air probably made for amazing training for the ninja, but for his old bones, well, it was a good thing he wasn't expected to fight at all today. He had decided Kumo was going to be wiped off the map, but part of the decision weighed on him. Children. It was the bigger reason why Naruto spared Iwa. Children shouldn't suffer the failings of their parents. However, Shokiro was older. Had watched Uzushio burn. Had watched women and children, his own at that, put to the sword all in the name of conquest. What of their peace? Why weren't they considered by their enemies? What of the few that were taken away, carted far and wide to suffer in programs much like Kumo's own? Shaking himself as his mind tried to go in circles, Shokiro reminded himself that Kumo didn't deserve mercy. The ghosts of the fallen cried out for justice. For vengeance. Lord Naruto had given him discretion in this task. So he would use it. Naruto would want to at least offer Kumo a chance, so Shokiro could do that. After all, Naruto didn't want Uzushio to be like Kumo. And neither did Shokiro. Of course, that didn't mean their chance couldn't be weighed heavily towards their own destruction. With a grin as the sun reached its zenith, he placed a hand down on the fountain he had been resting on. A small amount of chakra-activated seals, lines of power arcing away to several seals he had placed all along the village's walls. There were cries of alarm from people all over the market as a few were unfortunately zapped by the chakra, but Shokiro had to focus to direct chakra he could not directly control. A dome of blue and red energy rose from the walls of Kumo, rising to completely engulf the village and mountaintop, locking everyone inside and keeping out some lucky civilians who had been at the gate. Alarms rang out, civilians ran to their homes while Kumo's ninja forces took to the rooftops. Several ninja easily found the seals along the walls, and yet, none knew how to remove them. A few unlucky souls attempted to anyway, only to be pulled screaming into the barrier, bodies broken down into pure chakra as their comrades watched on in horror. As the chaos and screams filled the air, Shokiro watched it all, the chakra lines that had radiated out from him fading away, all except for a single seal that began to glow on his chest, a simple design of a pulsing blue spiral. Though that wouldn't last either, slowly growing into something truly massive that would take over most of his body. Taking his staff in hand and waiting, it didn't take long for a sensor type to lock in on him, before more ninja began to surround him. Well, at least they hadn't killed him right off the bat. A rather burly blonde man corded in muscle was stalking towards the monk, scowl on his face as he pointed at the intruder. You. What have you done? Release this barrier, or die. Shokiro blinked while his smile never left his face. Me? Why, killing me won't help you. He let himself be picked up by the front of his robes. In fact, you might just be in more danger threatening me. So saying, the man was electrocuted, body convulsing as screams died in his throat. Shokiro dusted himself off and watched the meathead die twitching and gurgling on the ground with bloody foam coming from his mouth. Shokiro turned to the dozen or so ninja that had surrounded him. Bring me someone in charge. I have orders for them. Watching them waver while many backed away from him put a good feeling in his chest. Darui had been having a decent morning. It was supposed to be peaceful while I was away, and he had sworn to keep the village in one piece while the wreckage was gone. And now this. Some intruder had locked the village down, no one could get in or out and they didn't even know why. Not that Kumo didn't have a shortage of enemies at this point. Just my luck. Behind him and trying to keep up, Mabui took in the barrier that shifted and boiled above them. It's a work of truly masterful seals. Easy guess is Uzumaki origin. Tell me something I don't know already, Mabui. Darui grunted as they touched down in the market. They could already see a circle of ninja ahead of them, and a couple dead lay on the ground. No visible wounds, but broken bones and joints. He turned back to his other shadow who he had been with when the emergency started. Stay out of the way but close. We may need you. Karui nodded quietly. Yes sir. Was she going to be blamed for this? Of course she would, damned Uzumaki blood. The crowd parts, Darui in the lead with a hand on his sword. What is the meaning of this? Eyeing the bald monk standing before them, he considers his options. Did you do this? My what impressive deductive reasoning. Top marks. Shokiro chuckled lightly before sighing and leaning on his staff. I'm only offering this once, so listen and listen well. Darui raised an eyebrow, sword edging out just a millimeter. You think to give us orders? When the fate of your village hangs in the balance. Yes. Yes I do. Eyeing the redhead just behind Darui, Shokiro smirked internally as a dark idea entered his mind. I'll keep this simple. Round up your children and one civilian adult for every 20 of them. They will be allowed to leave peacefully. So long as that happens, we can talk about what happens next. Would Kumo become a vassal much as Iwa had? Whispers in his mind screamed against the idea, and he had to agree silently. Huffing, Darui waves a hand to the crowd of ninja around them, counter-offer. We take your head and figure out how to drop the barrier. It might take some time, but they could figure this out. Bowing to this trash was out of the question. I can feel it, you have no chakra of your own. You're no threat to us. Then, a warning. Shokiro thrust his staff into the ground, before pulling his arms free of his robes. The top fell, revealing a massive seal that crossed his body, while his family crest pulsed at his heart. You should know a dead man switch when you see one, yes? Well, that was a problem. Damned Uzumaki. Why? What is this about? You're going to lock us in here and do what? We'll kill you for this eventually. He wasn't the Yuzukage after all. No one else had such destructive potential. Kumo has committed numerous sins, and the Reaper is here to collect. Shokiro takes his staff in hand again, the rings chiming and shaking in his grasp. I've given you a chance to live for a time, do as I say. The children and their minders will be allowed to leave as refugees to the land of hot water or another settlement close by if they choose. You can't expect us to separate our children from their parents like that. No. Surely we can come to a different understanding, yes? Aren't you Uzumaki all about understanding and redemption? Darui had read their profile on the Yuzukage. A bleeding heart through and through. He had mellowed out recently. Though he had the capabilities to destroy villages, he refused to. He was, in a word, weak. Shokiro shrugged, you're human. I expect you to exercise your free will. Do as you wish. I have laid down my terms. Mabui leans forward, eyes on Shokiro, but turned towards Darui. The Uzumaki respect their blood above all else. Their seals do not work against other Uzumaki. Sir. Good catch. Darui motioned Karui forward, a smirk on his face, we could always kill you with her. You Uzumaki always take care not to kill one another. Karui looked between the dead bodies on the ground and back to Shokiro. To think the monk she had talked to the other day had been an intruder. If only she had caught him then. Sir. If I order it, take my weapon and kill him. Pierce his heart. Prove you are a loyal Kumokunoichi. Sir. Her mind flies into a frenzy. Was she enough of an Uzumaki for this to work? Could she do it? Would this put her back in the good graces of the Reikage and end her duties as? Locking eyes on the girl, Shokiro's smile doesn't leave his face as he could see the turmoil behind those eyes. Think carefully about this girl. The fool tells the truth that Uzumaki seals do avoid other Uzumaki. Here he leans towards her mockingly, pointing a free finger at his chest. Will killing me give you what you want? Darui nods, she is a true kunoichi of Kumo, you can't sway her. Here Darui unhooked his weapon from his belt, holding it out to Karui. Put him down, Karui. Yes, sir. Karui took the sword from Darui, drawing it and walking slowly towards Shokiro, and finally some recognition crossed her face. Old man Shokiro. I remember you now. Oh, do you, child? Does that sway your decision at all? Sadly, he remembered her mother. Poor woman had finally bitten off her own tongue when they took Karui away from her. The rest were fitted with muzzles after that. No. You should have stayed gone with the rest of the trash. Mabui takes this all in. The barrier above them, the calm that practically oozed off of Shokiro, the seal, the pulsed with his heartbeat. Sir, maybe we should pause, consider things. Something isn't right. Darui turned to her slowly, do you know something? No, just a feeling. It isn't right. Why is he so calm in the face of certain death? Darui watched her, eyes locking onto her own and seeing that she had a certainty that he currently didn't feel. Turning back to Karui, who had nearly reached Shokiro, Darui sighed, Karui, stand down. Except Karui couldn't hear him, mind buzzing with white noise as she kept her gaze on Shokiro. I'm a member of Kumo's elite forces. I've sacrificed everything for my people. I will see you dead, Uzumaki. She lunged, readying her strike. Shokiro grinned, subtle genjutsu were so useful. Not always needed to give the target new sensations or illusions. Sometimes, just blocking out things was enough. Like a commander ordering you to stand down. I'm ready to die, little girl. Are you? Karui didn't see Darui order the others to grab her, or pay attention to several ninja already sprinting to stop her. Even if they were far too late. Her arm was already coming forward, years of training with the likes of Killer Bee honing her reflexes to a deadly edge. I will save my village with this tainted blood, and be redeemed as a loyal Kumo ninja. The sword pierced him easily, blood bursting from his back as Shokiro shuddered from her weight. See, this was a foolish endeavor. And yet, Shokiro was still smiling, blood coating his teeth and dribbling from his mouth. That's right though, you aren't an Uzumaki. Just a brainwashed little Kumo ninja. Shokiro's world fades as he finally allows himself to rest. He wondered if he'd get to see his wife and children one last time before the Shinigami took him to hell. To the few onlookers at Kumo's gate, it was a terrifying scene to watch. Brick by brick, atom by atom, everything within the barrier began to pull inwards, towards a dark sphere at its center, and dissolve. There were screams, a tortured sound as matter came apart and reality was bent. Nothing was spared. The process was less than a minute, the barrier eventually turning fully black before with a clap of thunder the barrier shrank down to a ball no bigger than a meter that eventually faded away with a whisper. An entire village, gone in a breath. The top of the mountain carved out and a smoking crater, in which the remaining gate and path leading to it began to collapse into. The survivors fled, eventually spreading the word of what had happened. Kumo was no more. Erased from existence. Scene change, settling back into his chair with a groan, Naruto accepted Tayuya reclaiming his lap with a sigh. His office was quiet, Temari and Ino sitting across from him at his desk while Sasuke and Sakura continued to be lazy in the provided couches under his weapon wall. Apparently Tayuya had been busy, wrapping up the pileup of his work while he was away, even though it wasn't yet noon. You really wanted to get out of here, huh? Tayuya nodded. You wanted us all back at the compound, so I was going to retreat the first chance I got. Snuggling deeper into his chest, Tayuya hummed, even gave Yujito the rest of the day off. Last I heard, she's headed to the beach with Samui. Naruto hummed at that, appreciating her efforts. Lucky them, maybe we can go join them later. A beach trip sounded good. Relaxation was sorely needed. Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate it. He had to make sure to tell them that, from time to time. Best to not have misunderstandings. Well, we've got Madara's body, so I feel better. Now to check in with Iwa and make sure they're being good, before I circle around to Kumo and have a word or two with the Raikage. Tayuya nodded and worked her way free, standing eventually next to his chair. Think he'll listen to reason? That bore? No way, so I'll probably have to smack him around a little harder this time. Shokiro should have his village nice and locked up by now. Grunting and feeling something shift, Naruto holds up his left arm to pull down his jacket sleeve, a blue seal crawls around his wrist, a solid band with a single white spiral on top that held only one meaning for him. Never mind. Kumo is gone. Everyone in the room blinks at that, but it's Tayuya who places a hand on Naruto's shoulder. You knew Shokiro would have given them a chance. And knowing Kumo, they would have refused. Naruto sighed, before shaking himself free of worry. Kumo had a few lifetimes worth of sins to answer for. This was their fate. But, at least that means we don't have to worry about them anymore. So that's good news for us. Ino relaxed a bit in her chair, ignoring Temari who seemed to be heavy into thinking mode. Guess it's best to lay low, let things settle around the world, before issuing any type of statement? We should call Tsunade and Mei. Naruto nodded, yeah. Might flash out and let Koyuki know. She'll probably cut her trip short, or leave it to Cheyenne and the others. It was Cheyenne's homeland after all. She would still want to see stability secured there. Naruto still stared at the band around his wrist. Something was missing. Guess we can call Mei first, then Tsunade. Saying as much, he pressed a button on his desk as the monitor on the wall came alive. Tayuya sighed, sitting on the edge of the desk. Guess we can lower our readiness alert rating? Maybe. Something was tickling him as the phone rang. What had he forgotten? Wasn't there supposed to be some red in there? Mei's face appeared, all smiling and sultry, to distract him for a moment. Hey Mei. Hello love. Nice of you to call. I'll assume since you aren't here, this isn't the fun kind. Shaking his head, Naruto eyed her carefully. I had to get rid of Kumo. The entire village is a crater. That's... Seeing her eyes go wide in surprise, they all watched as Mei seemed to grapple with the news before a sad smile graced her features. I know you must have tried to negotiate. Does that mean the Raikage and Killer Bee have fallen as well? Wait. Now he remembered what he'd forgotten. All at once all of their radios chimed at once, Naruto instantly keying his, "This is Mr. 9, report. Barrier group reports a massive chakra signature moving through the waters of Uzushio. It will make landfall in 30 minutes. Signature matches records, sir. It is the Jinchuriki killer bee." Naruto extended his own senses, everyone else in the room already standing and preparing themselves. There he was. Killer bee. He hadn't been captured in the seal then. Same with A and what felt like 3 others. But where were they going? Those ones were splitting off at high speed. Oh fuck. A finger keyed his radio again. "A team is already on the way to intercept the intruders. I want a full lockdown of the city ASAP. Mr. 9 out." Hearing an air raid siren rise up around the city, Naruto turned to Tayuya and the girls. "Get back to the compound, someone thinks they are sneaky." May called from the wall monitor, "Should we send Ninja to assist?" "I can be on my way as well." Already they could see movement behind her, but Naruto was shaking his head. "We've got this, but I'd say stay alert." I suppose." May ended the call first, a determined look on her face while Naruto was turning back to the others. Tayuya gave thanks her chakra was stable once more, body shifting into her seldom used second form with ease. "We'll keep home safe." Tayuya and Ino grabbed hold of Temari, who had yet to learn the Hiraishin, before flashing away. Naruto was cracking his knuckles as Sakura and Sasuke formed up at his shoulders. Naruto eyed the girl and the interesting pendant on her forehead. "Sure we can't convince you to sit this one out?" Sakura grinning, eyes flashing as Sasuke's own bled into his Mangekyo. "You couldn't get rid of me if you tried. Plus, I want to try something." Rolling his eyes, he latched onto his friends. "Well, let's put down some intruders." In one breath, they are in his office, in the next, they are touching down on a sandy beach, looking out over the clear Uzushio waters. "Can't wait until we can have an uninterrupted and peaceful week." Sakura groaned and stretched an arm over her shoulders. "You just want more time to canoodle your wives." "That too, and maybe a week straight of sleeping and doing nothing important." "Sumi." Naruto paused as Sasuke and Sakura pulled ahead of him, bantering back and forth with each other was another chakra signature smacked him in the face. "Oh, for the love of Naruto." Yujito crashed into his back, arms circling his shoulder to hold on tightly and pressing a bikini-clad body to him. "I didn't think I would get a visit from you." Rolling his eyes as the woman nearly purred in his ear, Naruto looked at the long-haired blonde from the corner of his eye. "Yeah. I forget you don't have a radio, but there's a bit of an emergency going on right now." Sasuke and Sakura were staring at him now, as Samui joined them wearing a rather daring all-white number. Naruto smirked as Sakura slapped a hand over Sasuke's eyes. "So little fabric. You should evacuate with everyone else." Yujito sighed, pulling away as indeed they could hear the air raid sirens that had sent everyone else running to the underground shelters. Only, she wasn't in the mood to run. "Who is it?" "I promised you that you wouldn't have to fight anymore, Yujito." Naruto pulled away, turning to face the pair fully. "Your time fighting is done. Go back and stay safe." Yujito shook her head, hands on her hips and feet planted. "You all have been good to your word, and I've built a home here. I've been able to have a peaceful life, I've made friends. Reconnected with someone I thought I'd never see again. I want to give back a little." Pointing at him, Yujito grinned. "So, who's coming that we need to smack the shit out of for interrupting our day?" Naruto watched the quiet Samui join up next to Yujito, and sighed, "Killer B and A." Seeing both of them with wide eyes, Naruto nodded. "Like I said, I don't want you to fight. Plus, you aren't really in the correct attire for it." In a puff of smoke and the sounds of some shuffling, both women were redressed in more serviceable clothing. Yujito did however, look uncertain. "Killer B is coming, huh?" Samui sighed, eyes turning to the ocean as she considered things. "At this point the Raikage is probably going to execute me anyway. Not like she was going to be of much help in a fight against a Kage and a Biju." Sasuke sighed, turning away as Sakura finally let go of his head. "Heads up, they're close." Bobbing his head in a nod, Naruto turned back to both women. "What'll it be?" "Once they're here, I don't think I'll have time to spare." Two clones burst into life on either side of him. "How about a compromise if you want to help so much?" Yujito and Samui were startled as the clones grabbed them. Yujito was quick to figure things out. "Wait a minute." US dash and then they were gone, whisked away to assist with the defense of his clan instead. Sakura sighed as Naruto turned back towards them. "They're gonna give you hell later." Sasuke grunted. "You need to be neutered." That's for future me to worry about. And hush, before I toss you at the next daimyo I meet. Chuckling and turning back to an explosion of water not far from the coast, Naruto began to power up. I'll handle B, think you can smack down A? B was in full chakra Biju mode, though it looked wrong. Forced even. A was riding on his head, glaring down on them as they approached. Kukuku, getting the chance to beat down a Kage? Why would I refuse? Sakura shivered and smacked her love for his efforts. Don't do that, you sounded like Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. I've come for your head. A's voice boomed, and Naruto feigned indifference and wiggled a finger in his ear. Sorry, totally not my type. I'm into jiggly bits, not dangly bits. Veins bulged from A's forehead as lightning coursed all over his body. I'm going to kill you, brat, and shove your head on a pike. Launching himself forward, he's almost immediately intercepted by a dainty red-nailed fist. What? Said fist smashed into his face and set him bouncing along the beach. Sakura grinned as she rebounded off of the bucking chakra construct that B had become and chased after Sasuke, who had moved to intercept A. You gotta get through us first, old man. B moved to stop them, but was met with Naruto. The golden form of Kurama grinned down on the malformed octoball. Uzumaki. B, guess this is the path you chose then? B sighed, locking eyes with the younger Jinchuriki. You should understand. I have a duty to uphold, and honor guides me. Naruto shoved a foot into B, tossing the construct away and into the surf. I hate those words. Like you don't have a mind of your own. Walking after B with all 9 of his tails thrashing into the waves and into the sky around them, Naruto pointed a finger at B. You are human, aren't you? Choose, damn it. You aren't a slave. They came together with a crash, sending up water and earth as Fox overpowered the bull hybrid. All of us are slaves to something, boy. Working a horn free, a tentacle slammed into Naruto's chest, only for 2 golden tails to smash into B's face. This would be much easier if Gyuki would stop being stubborn. I truly hope he kills you. No help there, of course. Instead, he rode the hit, letting it launch him away as dense chakra began to build within his mouth. Try this on for size, boy. Naruto's eye lit up, deciding it was time to show the other container just why fighting him was such a stupid idea. Go ahead. Whatever you send my way, I'll give it back tenfold. Having exchanged some hits with the other container, Naruto could tell. Gyuki wasn't in this, B was fighting alone. B's committed a great sin. He's made his choice. Naruto watched as the dense black chakra grew in size, his own hands mirrored by Kurama's shell and coated with seal. Guess we'll need to free Gyuki then. Good choice, little brother. B forced the dense Biju chakra to condense, before forcing the chakra body to eat it. Taste a full-powered Biju Dama from the 8 tails. There was light and heat, all sound drowned out in an overwhelming display of power that saw the very ocean begin to boil. He couldn't see as Naruto caught the ball, stripping it of its chakra and absorbing it into himself. But he did see Naruto still there, grinning within the chest of the Kyuubi and rushing him. What? Hold this. A Biju-sized Rasengan burst into life, mixed with wind and fire chakra to form a spiraling shuriken filled with liquid fire. Rasengan disintegrator. Naruto let the attack fly, catching B in the face and watching the other chakra construct get captured in a massive dome of wind and fire that held high into the sky. Knowing the timing, Naruto was already racing ahead, just reaching B's reforming chakra cloak as the attack ended. Let's go, B. Is this the fight you wanted? Hands and tentacles coming up to struggle against Naruto's own tails and hands, B gave ground. He'd have to take to the water, use what advantages he had. Staying this close to land was only helping the boy. Stumbling back once, twice, 3 times, B grinned as he felt the ocean floor begin to slope heavily away. We're just getting started, Naruto. We better be. Naruto needed to subdue him properly so he could extract Gyuki. Killing him or atomizing him wouldn't do him any good. Making the captive Biju suffer wasn't high on Naruto's priority list. So, looks like he was in it for the long haul. B hauled Naruto up and over his head, slamming Naruto into the deeper waters before disappearing into the depths himself. With a little effort, Naruto was back up and on the water's surface, a smirk on his face as he waiting. This'll be fun. Absolutely. Just finishing the thought, B now in a much smaller, more form-fitting chakra cloak was sent spiraling out of the water into the air, 3 chitinous tails chasing him. Thanks, Sambai. A roar answered him from the water, but Naruto was already flying ahead, abandoning the overkill that was the Biju mode, to instead move on into his Sage mode, Rinnegan shining. Let's see what kind of swordsman you are be. Kubikiri was in his hand with a thought, already arcing through the air, to dismember the bigger man. B drew two of his blades, blocking Naruto with some effort before the impact pushed him away. But Naruto was right there, falling through the air with him and raining down heavy bone-rattling strikes on him, all while keeping that feral grin on his face. Face twisting into a scowl, B drew a third blade and wielded it with his teeth. You've giving too much of yourself to your Biju boy. More like you've stopped listening to yours at all. Naruto brought down an overhead strike, speed and power increased with magnet release on his blade, while further sharpened with wind chakra along its edge. All three of Killer Bee's weapons here destroyed in an instant, throwing Bee like a falling star back into the rolling sea below them. Naruto floated there in the air for a moment, eyes shining as he waited, before a half-transformed Bee rose out of the depths, screaming in rage and trailing fiery red chakra. Holding up a hand as his grin increased, Naruto dug into the Rinnegan now. Shinra Tensei. Bee was thrown back down into the waters below, chakra wavering but trying to come up with a plan. You'll really sit back and let him kill us? Hump, you assume he'll kill you. Bee rose back to the surface, deftly avoiding the searching tails of the Sanbai circling around below their fight. Sure seems like he wants to. Chakra snapping back into existence, he rode within the uprising water while drawing 3 more of his remaining 4 blades. You'll have to try harder than that, Naruto. Naruto was in his face, eyes shining as his right arm opened with augmented puppetry technology and began to glow with power. How hard would you like it? Chakra exploded forth, the chakra cannon utilized by the clone sending Bee careening away to skip along the water's surface. The Jinchuriki of the 8 tails was quick to find his feet, only to be assaulted by 5 more clones. His last blade was in his hand, deftly blocking a clone grasping for his head before getting launched away by the puppet Naruto once more. The real Naruto floated above, watching Bee weave between the attacks and doing his absolute best to counterattack while he could. And inside, Naruto could feel the trapped Biju. Gyuki was angry, hurt, a mix of emotions as the container he had thought he could trust and depend on had finally betrayed him in the end. A dreadful feeling washed over Naruto, before Kurama huffed. You'll never be like him, remember that. Thanks Kurama, I'll keep that in mind. There was an explosion in the distance, and Naruto saw sand and dust rising into the air. Sasuke and Sakura are having fun. Best get back to it, Bee is starting to wane. Naruto could see that as well, the clones hemming him in though he had destroyed one at least. But his chakra was an unstable mess, the bastardized Uzumaki containment seal, doing its best, but just not enough. Shooting down towards his target, Naruto kicked up water in a high rooster tail as he flew towards his fellow Jinchuriki. Brace yourself Killer Bee. Bee was already turning, the clones around him jumping away as red and black chakra snapped into a thin cloak around his body. Sword already in mid-swing and beginning to trail electricity, his glasses glinted in the sun as Naruto was suddenly before him. Let's go. Naruto's sword whistled through the air, crashing against Bee's own that was encased in both his Biju chakra and lightning chakra. It wasn't enough, the sage breaking through and taking his arm as he flew past, leaving Bee whirling and trying to stay on his feet. The pain didn't register yet, even after spying his arm splashing into the water and staining the sea with his blood. Naruto was already back, sword flipping and reversing back towards his legs. So fast. Too fast. Bee was falling, his left leg gone below the knee as he watched his foot spin through the air. So, this was it. He really had lost. Naruto sighed, holding his sword over Killer Bee's chest as the large man lay in the water, panting for breath. The only reason his body hadn't fallen below the waves was Naruto's own chakra keeping up the surface tension. It's a shame, you know? We could have been friends, made a real difference. Fu wanted to see all of us come together someday, you know? You just dash, I have my honor. I never would have turned against Kumo. Even for you. Shaking his head, a tail extending from his cloak, a scroll bursting into view from a seal, maybe you should have. Kumo might have survived. Blinking as the last of his chakra faded away, Bee turned tired eyes towards Naruto. He was so cold now. So tired. What? Kumo's gone Bee. They couldn't be saved. It was right. Cough, Uzumaki would be the death of Kumo in the end. Seems all the warnings meant nothing in the end. Sounds like a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you'd left us alone, we'd never have anything to do with you. Says you. Naruto nodded, sealing B away before he could bleed out. Yeah. Says me. Turning to spy a rising dust cloud in the distance before a shockwave hit him, he rolled his shoulders, one down. Kurama was grinning in his mind, one to go. We turn back time, to just as Naruto separates from Sasuke and Sakura. Sasuke draws his sword, blitzing over the sand after the Raikage, who was already back on his feet, with a shout, lightning chakra met lightning chakra, sword against super-powered muscles. Well, you're big. A grin down on the boy who thought to stand up against him. Move aside, boy. You aren't the Uzumaki, and not worth my time. The Kage was forced to lean back and retreat, a foot trailing visible chakra passing through the space his head had been. Another tremor shook the area, but he was unable to counterattack, Sasuke already there swinging his sword to protect his wife's back. A's fists flashed back and forth, deflecting and redirecting strikes with little space to spare. Sand and dust fly in the air, surrounding the two in a sphere of low visibility, while Sakura circles around the edges of their kill zone. There was no time for her to shoot in and assist, not yet. Even still, she circulated even more chakra through her body, muscles coiled and ready for the sign of something changing. A moment, Sasuke pushed back as a blocked his blade with a lightning-covered fist, and then Sakura is there, her own fist coming forward to crash into his own that had been shooting for Sasuke's head. Sasuke was already inhaling and molding chakra in his lungs, determined to melt A's face off. A uses Sakura's fist to leapt away backwards, the grand fireball immolating the space he had been in and liquefying the sand and silica into a thin layer of molten glass in seconds. As the attack ends and the wind carries away the dust, A is there in Sakura's face, a mad grin on his face as his arm is extended for his signature move. Lariat. Surprise morphed into a matching grin, Sakura ducking in order to drive a straight right deep into the Raikage solar plexus. Lariat this meathead. Eyes shining, she drives the Raikage further back, with Sasuke coming to stand just in front of her with his sword raised. Standing up and cracking her knuckles, Sakura huffed, he's fast. Naruto fast. Almost, and don't overdo it. A made his way back to his feet, chuckling as he dusted his pants off. Ah, it's been a long time since I've fought someone that could react that fast. Odd. A looked at the Sharingan-wielding Uchiha, then to the smirking pink-haired woman, and began to frown. So that's how you do it. Genjutsu a specialty of yours, girl? Sakura huffed, adopting a stance and widening her base, among other things. Pupils shifting slowly into two Tomo Sharingan, should have figured you'd notice. Another Uchiha brat, should have known. Why are you helping the Uzumaki? They're a blight on this world. You of all the clans know this. A fist came up, intercepting Sasuke's sword, and they were back to fighting within their own personal circle of death. Sasuke smirked, maybe we know better, and you're the one who's been operating under a lie. You're saying someone pulled the wool over all of the previous Raikage? Be serious, boy. That sword of his streaked by his face, a thin line of blood opening up on his cheek. Pressing his attack, Sasuke stepped forward, forcing the Raikage to retreat. I am being serious, and you would know all about it if you had just given us a chance to talk to you. Sparks flew between them, and Sasuke was beginning to wonder how long his sword was going to hold. It wasn't some legendary creation like Naruto's Kubikiri. Naruto has been trying to get you to see reason, you old bastard. Veins bulging, A's next strike broke Sasuke's sword in two, shards embedding into his knuckles before his overextension saw him drive his fist into the ground. The earth shook as a pillar of dust and sand was thrown into the air. It took more time for the area to clear, but in a small crater that had been formed, A was there, frown on his face as he picked metal from his hand. Don't speak to me about that brat. I'll be dealing with him after I'm done with you. Sasuke sighed and exchanged a look with Sakura, who shrugged, you can't say you didn't try. Should we go ahead and tell him Kumo is gone? Rolling his eyes, Sasuke turned to keep the Raikage in his sights, you just did. Whoops. A looked between them, pausing in his march as he looked for the lie. For some show that they were messing with him. No. He knew. His forefathers had warned them. So long as the Uzumaki live, Kumo would fall. It was only a matter of time. Which meant this was now a mission of vengeance. I'm going to kill you both. Sasuke held his right hand out, concentrating as black fire rose and built into a 3-foot rod. With some effort and thought, the fire solidified into a blade of darkest obsidian, which he held in his hand with a smirk. Point to me, let's continue. I jumped away, closer to the coast as he finished a set of seals with lightning-assisted speed, water lightning dragon. A construct of water rose and built behind him, before taking in the pair of Uchiha and lunging for them, gaining lightning as it passed by its master. Sasuke was there to intercept it, while Sakura dove in to re-engage in close combat. Foolish girl. A fist came down. Sakura's left rose from her hip to meet it, Tomo spinning and eyes shining. The only fool here is you, last rakeage. Their fists met in a shockwave that cleared the area down to the rock underneath the beach sand, the pendant on Sakura's forehead shining and chakra ink bleeding out in a tribal design down her cheeks. They fought against each other for a moment, before they broke away as an even match. And then Sasuke was there, sword coming down on A's arm. Don't touch my wife. The cut was clean, the wound cauterized by hellfire was left staring at the stump of his left arm. Huh. That would make things harder. But both Uchiha were already upon him, and with some clarity, he realized he needed to pull back. Regroup with B, you aren't my targets, I need to get after that Uzumaki brat. Oh, don't mind me, I'm enjoying the show. And there he was, floating harmlessly over their battlefield with a smirk on his face. A's face twisted further into a scowl as hatred built in his heart. You. He avoided another sword swipe as he reactivated his lightning armor. He knew better now than to touch this blade. Naruto was all grins, me. Eyes shining, he considered the rakeage as he fought between Sasuke and Sakura. They really were giving him the runaround. And I thought you played with your food. Never let it be, said Sakura, and Sasuke don't have a mean streak a mile wide. A kick sent the pink-haired girl rolling back into the sand, but that just gave Sasuke more room to work, sword coming in a whistle before reversing and carving through sand and air alike. Even the rend in the terrain had instantly turned to sand. A's voice was tinged with rage now. You Uzumaki should have stayed dead. And you should pay attention to your surroundings. I didn't have to look, a back kick nearly catching Sasuke in the midsection, but Sakura was back with a fist radiating chakra that crashed into his knee. He knew it was shattered even before he hit the ground. And then there was that blasted sword, his right arm gone just above the elbow, before he could think to react. Down and beaten, A started up at the pair, while Naruto floated above them like a demented demon. This. How? Sasuke sighed, dispelling his technique with ease. How does it feel, knowing you were on the wrong side of history? I stared in defiance, directly at Naruto, eyes for no one else but him. The world will see you for what you are. Sooner or later. You're no savior. But a demon to tempt humanity to their death. Rolling his eyes, Naruto created a single clone bearing the Rinnegan which walked up to the rakeage. Honestly, I'm not too worried about what the world may or may not think of me when this is over. You made your bed, time to lay in it. I tried and failed to fight off the hand that grabbed him by the scalp. I won't talk, not to you. Kumo will rise again. Not your Kumo, and they'll know better than to fuck with me. Naruto watched as the clone pulled A's soul from his body. It was quickly stored away for later use, before he turned back to his team and family. And so ends the lunacy of the rakeage. He'd really have to let Koyuki know about the state of things now. Sasuke and Sakura were already jogging towards him, worry on their faces. We should head back to the island, what about that team? Naruto was already grinning as his friends latched onto him as he lowered himself down to their level and stood on his own 2 feet. Oh, I wouldn't worry too much. Those girls have some frustration to work out. With a thought they were gone, leaving behind a quiet beach that come high tide would be washed clean. No sign of the battle that had taken place there. And by tomorrow? It would be a fresh and clean play, ready for peaceful visitors. Chapter 84. Tayuya blinks, taking in the quiet Uzumaki compound while Ino and Temari touched down next to her. No visible damage, no errant chakra floating through the air, which meant no combat yet. Good. Their intruders hadn't made it here yet. Walking forward and entering their home first, Tayuya leads the way while Ino and Temari follow behind her. Almost immediately, they're met by a calm but curious Hinata who looked over their shoulders. Naruto? Tayuya pointed a thumb over her shoulder back towards the main island, off to save the city. Hinata nods, turning and walking further into their home as Ino closes the front door behind them. I have the rest of the family down in the basement, in the bunker. Nothing short of one of Naruto's V2s will get to them. Hinata's footsteps were quiet on the clean wood floors, and Tayuya had a feeling that anyone from Kumo who somehow got this far wouldn't be making it past Hinata's deceptively delicate hands. Kotoheim is down there as well, while Karen is watching the entrance. As she said this and they walked well past the sitting room and dining area, she paused at a nondescript portion of wall. With a touch of her hand the wall melted away and Karen was there, eyeing them up, before nodding and stepping forward. Behind her the stairs dived down well below the home where all but Temari knew there was probably the safest place on the planet right now. Tayuya, however, was already building plans in her mind. Alright. You've got the house covered. Hinata, you should join them downstairs. Hinata huffed as Tayuya tried to turn away, gently taking her co-wife's hand in her own and pausing the other woman's movement, and so should you. Naruto would be rather cross if you tried to run off and go fight. I would be rather cross as well. Karen rolls her eyes, walking past Tayuya while snagging Ino and Temari in her grip. Hinata is right. You both get down there with the rest of the family. We'll take care of the intruders. Karen twitches, eyes turning to track something unseen that no one else but her could sense. Speaking of, there's 3. They aren't close yet, hell not even to the forest yet, but we should move. Tayuya turned worried eyes to Karen first, before turning back to Hinata. I should go. I'm the combat type, not Karen. I'm stable, I can hold my transformation again and Hinata shook her head slowly, calmly, smiling at the taller woman who let her transformation go with a sigh. You don't have to fight this time. Hinata brought Tayuya closer to her and thus the stairs down to the basement. You have more than combat to concern yourself with. Ino rolls her eyes, flexing and showing off dense muscles. Save your strength and let us deal with the small fry. Temari nods, adjusting her fan at her back. We'll make sure nothing happens to Karen. Karen was grinning as they were already opening the rear doors to leave. We've got this touch on. You keep the house, we'll take out the trash. Karen watches Hinata pull Tayuya back slightly, and her grin softens into a real smile. You're carrying the next generation of Uzumaki. We can't rescue. Besides, if someone does somehow get past us, we'll need some of our strongest here to defend our home. And I pity anyone who thinks to get through you 3. Giving it up, Tayuya let Hinata pull her away. So much as a scratch, and I'm never letting you live it down, little sister. Karen nods, I believe it. Turning and looking out over the rear garden, she clenches a fist. Let's get to it. I'd rather them not get any closer to the house. They might taint the grounds. The 3 girls race off, leaving Tayuya and Hinata behind. Hinata held Tayuya's hand in her own, not sure if it was the taller girl trembling in her grip or her own. They'll be fine. They're strong. Tayuya knew that, but she wanted to be out there all the same. One scratch, and I'm going to Kumo and leveling that shit place a second time. Hinata giggled and led Tayuya back towards the basement entrance. I believe it. Behind them and racing through the forest behind their home, Karen took the lead position as the sensor type while Ino checked over her Senbon launchers and Temari fingered her fan. It's 2 Jonin and 1 High Chunin. No offense, but I think I'll take the Chunin. Karen knew she was very much a support type. But for her home? Well, she was still an Uzumaki, she always had the home field advantage. Confident smirk on her face, Ino flipped through the trees next to Karen. This is going to be fun, we get to cut loose. And take out some frustrations. They all had a bone to pick with Kumo for one reason or another. Temari couldn't help but agree, I could use the exercise. Karen has all of a breath to dodge and stop the group before Naruto is there, 2 more women in his grasp. Wah. The Naruto clone saluted them, I come bearing reinforcements. Have fun. And then it was gone, leaving behind an irate-looking Yujito and a confused Samui who was looking around at all of the greenery. Oh, that no good asshole. If he wasn't such a good lay, I would. Samui sighed and shook Yujito by the shoulder. No, you wouldn't. You like him too much. Well, I'm still pissed off. The 2 tails made of fire at her backside clued everyone in on that fact easily enough. Chuckling and telling herself to give Naruto shit for this later, Karen retook the lead. No offense, but we kinda have a bug problem. Wanna come help? Samui nodded and did her best to ignore the Jinchuriki who decided to spit literal blue fire. That is why Naruto brought us. Lead the way. Karen jumped away, talking as the others joined up with her in the trees. I know Yujito doesn't need anything, but you've been disarmed. Need a weapon? Samui considered herself before nodding. Anything with a blade would work. I traditionally work with a tanto. Karen thinks about it, before nodding and snapping her fingers. In the air before her, in a puff of smoke, a ocean blue scabbard appears, no more than 2 feet in length. She easily tosses it to the astonished Samui. I get bored, so I make things. Consider that a gift for assisting in Yuzushio's defense. Ino felt snarky, or maybe a gift for boning our husband. Squashing down the momentary blush that crossed her face, Samui sighed and threaded the new weapon into her belt at her lower back. Apologize for overstepping. Ino shrugged. Oh, don't worry, I'm not mad. Yet. But I'm guessing that's how you got dragged into this? No, after seeing how callously the Reikage treated Yujito's death, how ready he was to throw any of us away. I decided I couldn't continue to fight for Kumo anymore. I know. I ignored a lot of horrible in my time. But I thought it was for the good of my people, my home. Samui sighed, looking away from the judgment she would see in the other girl's eyes. I'll do what I must, to atone for what my people did to yours. But I couldn't continue to fight just to appease the ego of one old man. Yujito chimes in, blue fire trailing from glowing eyes as her tails flicked in the air in agitation. You worked with the information you had. No one will blame you, Samui. Personally, I blame you lot for showing me that there could be something better. If not for you, for Naruto, I'd probably still be a good little brainwashed Kumo ninja. Ready to blow myself up for my village's glory. She pauses for a moment before pointing a finger at Ino, and yes, the perks are pretty, life-changing. Aren't they, Samui? Samui couldn't prevent her blush this time, no comment. She certainly didn't want to be torn apart by the Kage's wives. No. She liked being in one piece, thank you very much. Ino sighed, deciding to talk to both of them later to clear things up. Well, it's good to have you here now. Maybe we can talk terms. Karen rolled her eyes and pointed at the mirthful Ino. We'll talk about that later. Pause at the hill here, we're close. They could hear waves now, they were close to the coastline now. Dropping down to the ground as the brush cover thinned out, Karen stops them before rising over the hill. The intruders are huddled together. Take it slow. They all edge over the hill, looking down onto a rocky beach. 3 men were huddled together, one of which seemed to be laying out a plan to the others. Yujito, Samui, know any of them? Samui edges forward, seeing the group of 3 men roughly 100 meters away from them now. Atsui, my brother. Omoi, my old teammate, and Motoi. I'd like to handle my brother. Try to talk him down. Karen nods, fair enough. Yujito has a grin on her face, knuckles cracking in one hand as her nails lengthen. I have a bone to pick with Motoi. I'll handle him. Shining eyes raked over everyone else. I'd suggest everyone stay away from my fight. Ino and Temari looked between her and then each other before shrugging and deciding fighting 2-on-1 would be alright. Guess the straggler is ours. Plus, it allowed Karen to stay behind and watch the rear. Karen nods, alright, we have surprise, hit them hard and fast. Yujito was already molding chakra for a shunshin, blue fire leaking from the edges of her eyes increasing. I'll split them up, after that we tear them apart. Scene change. Motoi stood between Omoi and Atsui, arms crossed as he considered their options. B had told them he felt chakra this way, specifically Uzumaki chakra. They didn't have a lot of time to explore, which meant they needed to either split up or coordinate an efficient search. It wasn't a large island, but they only had one shot at this before they met back up with B and the Reikage. Steadying himself, he eyed both of his current teammates. Omoi looked thoughtful, hands on his hips as he kept his senses alert. Odd that the Uzumaki would be all the way out here away from the main island. Maybe a secret base? An enclave away from the normal citizenry? Atsui shrugged, wanting to find that the Uzukage himself. What evils was he unleashing on his sister? Who knows how cowards think? They probably ran and hid in order to let their people burn again and escape Reikage-sama wrath. Motoi motioned for silence, gaining the other 2's attention. We're going to stick together, scout quick and quiet. Hit and run, don't get into any protracted fights unless you have no choice. We were given a time limit and after that we're leaving. If you aren't back, you'll be left. Omoi nodded, sounds good, best get a move on then. Atsui nodded, let's get fired up. The blonde-haired Atsui was all grins as he fingered the sword at his hip. This was for vengeance for his sister, maybe they would negotiate her return after this. You'll get fired up alright. Something made of blue fire landed in the middle of the group, a shockwave tossing them all through the air. Omoi had all of a moment to spy what looked like a furious Yujito within that fire, before it was gone, chasing after the retreating Motoi up the rocky slope toward a cliff. Atsui was already drawing his sword as he skipped to a standstill, turning to assist their team leader, was that Yujito? Eyes up Atsui. Samui was suddenly there, driving a forward kick into her brother's side to toss him along the rocks. Tonto singing through the air, they were racing back and forth along the hill in the opposite direction from Motoi and Yujito. Omoi grunted, divide and conquer, classic. Feeling 2 chakra sources behind him, he drew his sword and turned to face the 2 blondes. What was Asuna woman doing here? A trick then? No. Defending the Uzumaki gathered here. Temari was already swinging her fan around, her summon coming forth in a puff of smoke, Kamaitashi. Completing her swing, she frowned as Omoi was able to complete a block, her summon flipping through the air to return to her and land on her fully opened fan. You've got talent. Her weasel hefted its own sickle, ready to try again. Or you overestimated yourself. Why are you here, Suna? Omoi looked between the 2 women with concern. He vaguely remembered her from the summit, a guard for the Kazekage. Did that mean that Kage was here as well? The Suna woman was a long-range type with that massive fan, but what about the Uzumaki blonde? Seals? Explosions? He had nothing to go off of with her, besides the muscle definition along her arms and legs. Maybe a close-range type? Ino dashed towards him, chakra cycling through her as with a wave of a hand over her face a brown Oni mask wavered into view, less talking, more dying. Jumping up and over a horizontal slash from Omoi, Ino launched a brace of Senbon his way as she flipped over him. He blocked them all, but that was fine, she had more, and now his attention was split. Temari took advantage of that, launching her summon again with more wind behind it this time. Kamaitashi. Omoi didn't even attempt to block this time, a short-range shunshin carrying him to safety, and then, well within her reach. 1 down. Omoi's sword coming around in a tight arc, it was blocked by the now closed war fan with a clang. He pressed the attack, lashing out again and again as Temari retreated by several steps. He only then had a minor warning as Temari smirked at him, before a dainty fist smashed into his ribs. He rolled with it, but he could feel that at least 2 were cracked if not outright broken. Back crashing into the ground, he rolled, spitting blood and regaining his feet. Sure enough, there was the Yuzu woman again, mask making her face unreadable and flexing muscles in her arms, short range for one, long range for the other. Just what I need. What was that mask for? Did it assist her in some way? He didn't have time to figure out all these variables. So what, you bend over for the Yuzukage and he promises to give you whatever you want or something. Temari smirked as she watched Omoi dodge between Inos and Bond as she circled around him. This idiot sure didn't know anything, did he? If it was just that, Kuma would probably have been gone a long time ago. Doing her best to figure out how to lead him into a trap, Ino decided simple might be for the best. In the middle of reloading one of her launches as she felt the rocky terrain slip under her feet. She let it happen, body falling off balance as she kept the grin off her face as Omoi rocketed towards her. Perfect. Weak. Crescent moon beheading. Augmenting his strike with chakra and his sword trailing light, he was caught even more off guard when between 2 breaths the Uzumaki woman was before him, and then gone in a muted flash of light. Sword passing through empty space, he felt the impact of something striking the back of his neck. His world spun, body numb as he watched a grinning weasel pass him by with a bloody sickle. Understanding that he had been completely outclassed, he let calm wash over what was left of him. He wouldn't even be able to warn the others this way. His world went dark. Ino bounced in place, watching as Temari cuddled her summon in her hands. Now that was a fast attack. What's the upper limit on it? Temari sighed, letting her summon return home. That was it. Thanks for the setup. Didn't feel like dragging him along, and it isn't like we need any of the Kumo ninja for anything. They both heard an explosion from the direction Yujito had gone, looking up to see her welling up a massive amount of chakra and the area looking like a sea of blue flames. Think she'll need help? With a stomp from Ino and a healthy amount of chakra, the ground swallowed up the beheaded body and head of Omoi, dragging it into the earth with ease. Temari was already turning back to where they had left Karen. Yujito? Doubtful, maybe Samui? Locking her hands behind her head and dispelling her mask, Ino shook her head. She asked to deal with her brother alone. Best to let her have that. Let's check in with Karen and go from there. Okay. Temari finished folding up her fan and replacing it at the small of her back. Maybe I can have Naruto add some seals to my fan. Could increase the durability a bit. Want to get better with close range? Ino could understand. At least, I want to be able to give someone a nasty surprise or two if they get close like that again. Temari had decided a long time ago that she hadn't wanted to be helpless at close range. Even now, a few stashed away kunai gave her some extra options. Another explosion rocked the area that prompted both girls into a jog, best to make sure their friends were okay. Scene change, panting and weaving away from a blast of blue and white fire, Motoi considered his options. Fighting against Yujito normally would have been a hard-pressed fight. Fighting against her while she was in this enraged state and likely brainwashed was a completely different realm of impossible. Short sword in hand but almost entirely useless, he made another dodge to his left, watching a wall of fire trail past him and nearly cook him even at this distance. The ground was molten in its wake, but Yujito was already chasing him further, fire clinging to her body though refusing to burn her. Yujito. I know you're in there. Fight whatever this is. Whatever that Yuzukichi has done to you. You're stronger than it. Grinning and pressing her attack, Yujito considered that from Motoi's perspective she probably did seem to be erratic. She would normally be much more in control, less violent, less wasteful of her chakra. However, Kumo had stolen her life from her and now was here to rip away the happiness she had found. No. They had totally pissed her off. And she wanted to make sure some of them burned for it. Dashing towards him and jumping into a twirl, two tails of chakra smashing into his arms that he raised to defend himself. She could smell the burning flesh from here. A sickly sweet scent. You've gotten soft, Motoi. All that time fighting against those who couldn't fight back finally catching up with you? We're here to save you, Yujito. Cursing as his arm screamed in pain, Motoi tried to break through whatever was blocking the control seals on the Jinchuriki. She would be angry at being knocked out in such a way, but would also thank him when this was over. I'm trying to bring you back home. A small lie. She would be a nice bonus on top of their current mission. Maybe she knew where the Uzumaki were? Chakra building along her right arm into a cat's paw, Yujito was within striking distance in a blink, swatting Motoi further up the cliff and through a boulder. Molding chakra in her chest, first one, then a second line of fire was born from her mouth, liquefying more of the island rock and reducing Motoi's avenues for escape. Seeing him begin to stand, she strode his way once more. Home, huh? I am home. Motoi had all of a second to defend himself, a lightning wall hastily formed but blocking another blast of blue fire. On either side of him, the world detonated, leaving him with the only cone of undamaged earth behind him. Yujito. You've been corrupted, I'm here for you. Yujito jumped high, a short string of hand seals before her tails lashed out repeatedly, several fireballs splashing into the ground all around her target. Motoi was quick to run away, but he was edging closer to the cliff's edge. Maybe it was time to play along? Give him some hope? Landing and walking through the flames, Yujito put on a distressed face. You, what? Mentally Motoi grinned, finally, some good news. Home, remember? Kumogakure. With your team, your real team? And B, he's here too, he'll be happy to see ya. Looking back, he didn't have anywhere else to retreat to. The fall wouldn't kill him, but those rocks under the waves would surely do him in if he was injured beforehand. Yujito, it's me. Come on, you know me. Keep calm, no sudden moves. Like trying to calm down a mountain lion. Pausing within arm's reach of him, Yujito put a hand to her head, her flames dimming a bit while she did her best to ignore the Matatabi cackling in her head. Motoi? Yeah, it's me. Come on, calm down, tell me what happened. We can fix this. If only they didn't have such a time constraint. They needed to get a move on. Yujito's hand flashed forward, snatching Motoi by the neck and hoisting him in the air. Oh, you want to know what happened? Yujito offered him a murderous grin, her fire coming back to full strength. She noted that the man began to sweat profusely from the heat. What happened was the Reikage sent me on a mission to die. Expected me to sacrifice myself for a village that committed genocide. More fire began to encircle them, but Yujito barely paid attention, slit eyes locked onto one of her tormentors. What happened was I spent a lifetime training in all manner of horrible or demeaning ways. You were part of that. Remember? How was it, training a drugged-up Jinchuriki? Did you like it? Enjoy it? I was following orders. I was only following orders, just like you. Following orders. Like that absolves you of your sins. Nails dug into his soft neck, drawing blood. I woke up. Found a new life here and I have pledged to right my wrongs of the past. For once I have found real happiness. A reason to live beyond fighting and killing. But you? I don't have anything left for you. Her free hand knocked the short sword from his left hand, aborting his desperate attempt to free himself. More sweat was beginning to fall now, and more. His breath was starting to sound ragged, dry. Any last words, Motoi? Heh, so. You really did it. Ran away to whore yourself out to the Yuzukage so he would free you? Just like the alley cat you really are. Just some animal. Yujito shrugged, tossing the man onto the rocks, before backing away slowly. I've decided this is going to be the last time I fight. I'm not made for this anymore. No. Probably never was. Burn in hell, Motoi. I hope peace is a long way from you. Chakra bursting free and taking the form of the Matatabi, a dense ball of fire built within her chest. She watched as Motoi was rising in some attempt to either flee or fight, but he wasn't given the chance. Fire engulfed him, his screams lost to the roar of her fire. The sustained attack was a full minute, and when complete Yujito powered back down into her normal self, a tired sigh leaving her mouth as she took in the glowing and molten rock before her. Guess that's that. Part of her had wanted to drag it out more. To make one of her abusers suffer for the lifetime of pain they put her through. But it wouldn't change anything, and only weighed her heart down more. Ino and Tayuya had convinced her. This was a new life, which meant a new start. You're free, kitten. Truly free. Have been for a while now, haven't I? With a thought, she dispelled the various smaller fires around herself. Matatabi's fire really was something special. You know what I mean. It's time to let go of those ghosts. Kumo isn't an entity for you to worry about anymore. You know your love will handle them. Love? I don't be dense, kitten. You can only play pretend for so long. Another sigh leaving her, Yujito gave it up. Damned Uzumaki. She blamed Tayuya. With a satisfied Biju deciding it was time for a nap, Yujito was of the same mind. Turning away from the glowing red surface of the rock before her and jogging back towards where she could feel the others. Maybe Lord Naruto could employ Samui as a secretary as well. Yujito was sure her friend was done with fighting now. They both deserved a new life, a new start. Scene change. Samui's face was carefully neutral, slipping through Atsui's strikes with millimeters to spare as she pressed her attacks, her new tanto diverting strikes or lashing out with precision. She could see the frustration on her brother's face, but she needed him to understand. Stop fighting me. I want to talk to you. Talk? Talk. I thought you were dead. And when I see you again, it's at the point of a blade. Atsui's sword trailed fire, a vertical strike that Samui slid away from but caught several trees in its wake. They burst into flames easily, but Samui was already there, shorter blades snipping away several locks of hair. I thought you were gone, or best case brainwashed or tortured. But here you are, in one piece and working with the Uzumaki? Why? Cringing a bit internally at the pain she could hear in Atsui's voice, Samui understood. He had thought her lost, but now here she was, and now his enemy. Such a situation would break most people. If you would stop, we could talk. I could explain. There is so much we've ignored, allowed to go on. We don't have to do this. You're right, we don't. Atsui dashed backwards, out of range of her attacks as he began to chain seals together and well up chakra, because I'm still a loyal Kumo shinobi. I don't know what they did to you, but you need to snap out of it. You know what our mandate is for someone like you, Samui. Brainwashed or not, he was to kill her. That was his duty. Samui knew it as well, seeing the resolve entering his eyes. Don't. You've never beaten me before. And you won't today. Fire encircling his sword, Atsui went back on his attack, range increased due to his technique. You're being fooled by the Uzumaki and Uzushio. They can't be trusted. That's why we're here, because they stole from us. Those are people you're referring to as property. Samui leaned back, watching his blade trail over her chest and loosing fire. Coming up, she dove into his range, Tonto drawing blood along his ribs, living breathing people Atsui. How long are you going to claim ignorance to the atrocities of Kumo? They exchanged blows back and forth, Samui beginning to sweat as the heat seemed to increase as their fight went on. Think about it. If Uzushio was so duplicitous, how could the rest of the world not see through them? Are you saying Konoha, Suna, Kiri, Spring, And the host of other smaller nations are all being taken in by them? Yes. A horizontal strike split a dozen trees in a cone of destruction before him, but Atsui was already turning to address Samui, who had jumped over him. He received a foot to the face for his trouble, but she didn't press her advantage. Kumo knows the truth. Has seen it. The Uzumaki are bottom feeders who will bring ruin to everything, and we can't let that happen. You used to be like me, like us. Samui sighs, chakra finally beginning to build within her body. This had gone far enough, once, yes. Until I opened my eyes. The Reikage just wants power and prestige, a Kumo at the top of the world. Not cool at all. Atsui can see a thin layer of frost beginning to build on Samui's blade. He couldn't let her get started, traitor. A single word, but it froze both of them in place, Atsui's fire going out as he stared at his sister. Neither moved, though Atsui was emboldened as Samui couldn't hold eye contact with him. Lay down your weapon, Samui. We'll go back to Kumo, you'll stand trail and maybe you can get away with heavy labor for a few years. But, this is done. Don't make me kill you. Something in her heart broke. Was there really no convincing her brother that something better was out here? That Kumo wasn't as great as they had once believed? Atsui-no. Stop. Just. Put down your weapon. Don't do this. Well. Yujito had been correct. Sometimes cutting all ties was for the best. Exhaling a thin stream of mist, the air around them began to rapidly cool. You've never beaten me, Atsui. Not once. Need I remind you? Fire bursting back into life along his weapon, Atsui took a new stance as he angled his sword. I've never gone all out against you either, sister. Flipping the tanto in her hand into a reverse grip and taking a new stance of her own, Samui locked firm eyes on her brother. So you say. But neither have I. With a shout they both came together, fire slashing out to her side from a deflected strike and scorching the ground, while a line of ice was left in their wake as they dashed to and fro across the forest floor. So what, you spread your legs for the Uzukage and suddenly you have a new outlook on life? Or maybe you think you're somehow better than us? Better than Kumo? You don't get to run away like that. He misses his next strike, white-hot fire digging a trench in the ground before being snuffed out. He's forced to retreat from her tanto, now trailing ice crystals. Samui grunts, hating the assumption everyone made about her, even her brother apparently. This body doesn't define who I am. Sure seems like it. My eyes are open. Kumo has committed countless atrocities. Why can't you see that? And why can't you see that it was all for our benefit, for the betterment of everyone in Kumo? Even you. Dodging away from a strike, Atsui watched a tree get flash frozen in an instant. He'd best keep his range. So you can debase yourself all you like. Submit yourself to your new master. Kumo's sins are still on your hands, and no amount of atonement will wash them clean. Shame. Regret. A host of emotions Samui couldn't put to words right now, but she would later. When she had a quiet moment with Yujito. Or maybe by herself. There's always a chance to make things right, Atsui. To make things better. So what, should I be like you? His sword came down upon Samui's hasty guard, and he hammered down on her repeatedly. Should I bend over for the Uzukage as well? Pledge to do whatever he wishes, whenever? Uzushio isn't some sparkling clean nation either, a ocean of blood lays at their feet as well. Rising again to strike once more, Atsui can feel his rage boil over. You can't just wash your hands of it all and enjoy a new life. You committed to this, to our duty as killers. His weapon came down, and met a wall of ice. His strike melted a trench through it, only for his weapon to be trapped within. Yeah, run away. Apparently that's what you're good for. Samui nodded behind the wall, watching Atsui's weapon behind to sizzle and water to trickle away in rivulets down her barrier. I can't change your mind then. You'd die for Kumo as opposed to coming with me? I'm no traitor, and Kumo will win this conflict. Atsui's eyes hardened as he began to pour more chakra into his weapon. I've made my choice. That was something Samui was going to have to accept, even if she didn't want to. Understood. It took little effort to mold chakra along her right hand, thrusting it forward and changing the barrier in an instant. Atsui grunts as something pierces him. Looking down, it isn't her sword, but her free hand, encased in a spike of ice. Woo! Coughing, blood dripped down his chin as his concentration slipped, his fire going out and his hand falling away from his weapon. He noted Samui's wall of ice melting away, water soaking the ground around them. I can't change you, I see that now. Nor can I make you see how wrong you are. You're a Kumo shinobi, and I won't take that from you. Samui watched as ice began to creep from his chest, growing over his body as she pulled her hand free. Reaching down and taking his weapon into her hand, she continued, you can call me whatever you like. Judge me however you wish. I've decided to make a change for myself. Not for Kumo. Not for their glory. Not for you. I'm putting myself first. Looking down on Atsui as he fell to his knees, Samui stood over him before dispelling the chakra-laden ice on her weapon and stowing it away. I'm sorry. I wish it could have been different. So do I, sister. I'm sorry. You're not a whore. I know that. Samui nodded, turning away to hide her tears from him. I think you would have liked it here in Yuzushio. The men of the Chinoite clan, I think you'd get along with them, all hot-blooded and eager, just like you. She could hear the ice creeping over his body, and his breath now coming in shorter gasps. Plus, there are many single women here. Some are pretty cute. Atsui chuckled, no longer able to feel anything beyond the all-encompassing cold. Would have liked to see him. Samui's grip on his weapon was tight, enough for her nails to dig into her palm and draw blood. I think. If Naruto would have met you, he really might have been able to change your mind. Show you that the Uzumaki aren't the monsters the Reikage made them out to be. Maybe so. Is he that great? Atsui watched his sister's shoulders shake and sighed. He did that. What a terrible brother. He's kind, foolish. Strong. Dedicated to his people and to what is right. He would spit in the eyes of the kami if he deemed them in the wrong. In a word, cool. Yes, cool. Atsui wanted to chuckle, but no longer had the strength. I think it would have been fun to meet him. Even once. It was so hard to breathe now. Samui had noticed as well and decided she needed to go. Rest well, little brother. Live well, big sister. Walking away, Samui didn't need to turn back to see Atsui take his last breath. Nor did she need to see the technique finish its task, ice shattering into shards to leave her brother's broken body on the ground. He would return to the earth here, and she would come back one day to properly place a grave marker. For now she needed to return to the others. Samui cleaned her tears and slipped his sword into her belt, just behind her tanto. Yes, she needed to find Yujito and the others. She wanted to make sure her friends were okay. Scene change. Evening began to descend on Yuzushio, and all in all, Naruto decided today was a job well done. No portion of Yuzushio proper received any damage, all of their citizens were accounted for. No loss of life on their side of things, and hell, not even a building damaged. So as he lowered himself into the massive baths of his home and let Temari snuggle into his side, Naruto accepted a bottle of something from Sasuke, who relaxed next to him. Here's to a job well done. More like here's to curb stomping the Reikage. Naruto and Sasuke shared their toast, before relaxing back to watch the rest of their families. Sasuke was doing his best to ignore Sakura and Amaru chatting away animatedly with a conspiratorial-looking Kotohime and Hinata. Those two were a bad influence. Naruto nodded along, arm snuggled warmly around Temari as she relaxed fully. You're not getting any sleep for a long time. Says you're even worse. I have personal dimensions to retreat to. Naruto grinned wide as he could feel the irritation wave off of Sasuke. Sasuke gave him the stink eye. Share. Build your own. Dunce. Prick. Temari pinched the blonde, happy at the yelp he let out. Enough of that. I'm tired, and you're keeping me up. Grunting and looking back as Ino and Karen seemed to be sharing notes with Tayuya and Anoka, Sasuke asked the burning question of the evening. So, what now? Now? I wonder. Naruto wanted to take a break. Relax for a while, not have to worry about fighting other Kage or super-powered ninja. Maybe finally get around to that road trip with Jiraiya. See the world a bit. Now nothing. I need to talk to Gyuki and Kokuo. But there's no rush anymore. Some time off does sound nice. Required really. We've been going crazy for the last few weeks. Sasuke was almost looking forward to a plain old normal mission. Hell. Maybe he'd go and visit Konoha and take a mission to hunt down Tora. Just so he could see if that damned cat could survive an Amaterasu. Temari hummed, "Well, I agree to a well-earned rest and break. No missions. No leaving the city." Ino was already holding up a hand, "I second that. No craziness for a year, I say." Temari was grinning as she looked up at Naruto through her bangs, "No running off, mister. I want a date. And you'll get it, honest." Naruto squeezed Temari once, before Ino was pointing at him again. Oh. What did he do now? He did not like the look on her face. "And you? Are Yujito and Samui part of this family now or not?" All eyes turned to him, and Naruto could feel all restful thoughts leaving him instantly. He gave up. All signs pointed that this really wasn't his choice to make, again. "Do whatever you want. I'm sturdy." Ino cheered and turned to Tayuya, "So, about that plan." That all four of the girls devolved into whispers, a tired-looking Karen leaning into the more muscled Ino. Naruto gave Sasuke the finger as the other boy started chuckling at him. "Not a word. Bet your pocket dimension won't save you now. Every princess, daimyo, female bandit leader, or lost soul we find, I'm tossing your way. Believe it. I'm man enough to admit I just don't have your charm." "It's okay." Sasuke shivered as Sakura and Amaru both looked his way quietly before turning back to Kotohime and Hinata. "Control your women, Naruto. I hope they tie you to a bed for a week straight. At this rate, they'll convince your sister to join. And that has me worried." Naruto was something, for sure. That brought Naruto up short, thinking it over before taking a long sip of his sake. "Touch her, and I'll kick your ass." "Oh ho, brotherly protection is a real thing, isn't it?" "Never mind, I'll have Ino flay your mind." "Oh, now there is a real threat." Both boys shared another drink, before relaxing back into the warm stone. After a short while of just enjoying the idle chatter, Naruto took in Karen and Onoka floating his way. "Hey girls." Onoka was all smiles as Karen came and joined Temari. "A heads up, Fuafua should be fully repaired in a few days." Such a lame name. It's a laser-spitting dragon. It needs something menacing and cool. Several women's voices all rose up at once, drowning him out. "It's cute and you won't change it." Chuckling and vowing to beg Isaribi to change it for him, Naruto turns to the other half of the basement duo. He didn't like the look in her eyes. "What's up, Karen?" "Well. Even though you want to take a break from all the craziness. What about Kagaya?" That draws some attention, everyone more than a little curious about Naruto's plan for the goddess. Or former at least. "Kagaya, huh?" Naruto shrugged and laid out his plan for the goddess. "Well, like I said. Gotta deal with the 5 and 8 tails. Plus, I'll have to make a trip to AIM in order to talk to Pain and see about the 4 tails. Plus, gotta get to Mei and convince her to let me borrow Yutataka about the 6 tails." Not that he had to guess what sort of convincing that woman would request. Sounds like a few months' worth of work then. Karen rolled a hand in the air while Naruto gave her a confused look. Couple weeks tops." Naruto's attention was pulled in as Onoka loomed over him. She said it sounds like a few months' worth of work. Long red hair draped over Naruto as Onoka's eyes began to glow. "Which means lots of time to relax. Focus on the not-so-little things." She edged closer. "Yes, darling. So much focus." She let out a squeak as Ino picked her up and put her over her head. "I'm a delicate flower." Ino chuckled, according to Karen, not so delicate. Onoka's thrashing ended up unbalancing them both, ending up with them disappearing under the water in a splash. Karen did reach over to poke at Naruto's chest. "So, you taking the hint?" Sighing and nodding, Naruto gave in. "A few months it is. I'll slow it down." He rolls his eyes as the girls cheer. He turned back to Sasuke. "So, what was that about Sakura having a Sharingan? Does your Don hand out Sharingan now?" Ignoring your idiocy, it wasn't like I needed all of the Sharingan harvested by Danzo. Nor did I need both from Itachi. Plus Sakura is an Uchiha. And, how does she have non-red Sharingan? Never underestimate the will of a world-class medic with a vanity streak. Naruto blinked at that, before his eyes turned back to Amaru, who was laughing at something Kotohime had said. Uzumaki blood and a Sharingan. I doubt Amaru wants the same treatment. Sakura was just over our quote-unquote hack powers. They are hacks, and I'm going to break them." Sakura yelled over to them while shaking a fist at Naruto and Sasuke both. Huffing, Sasuke turned bored eyes to Naruto. "We broke her." Naruto shrugged, I take no responsibility for your wife and her mental state. My wives are all normal. They both turned as Ino was carried into the air by chakra chains formed by a cackling Onoka. Normal for Uzumaki. That isn't a point in your favor. Temari snuggled deeper into Naruto's side, a content smile on her face. I wonder if our kids will have your cute whisker marks. Shrugging, Naruto relaxed and waved a hand in the air. The future is full of possibilities. And hopefully with some work it would remain a bright one. Ino was giggling as she struggled free. Naruto, would you put a baby in this one already and calm her down? Onoka was already bounding his way. I second that idea. She ignored Ino dropping back down into the water as she dispelled her chains. Yup, life was normal again for the Uzumaki clan. Naruto had made one promise that he had set out to fulfill the moment the seal appeared on his wrist, confirming that Shokiro's mission was complete. And thus, here he was, in the forest behind the rear of his home, staring at a memorial. It was simple enough, a 3-meter by 3-meter blue cube made of a material stuck somewhere between metal and stone, sat on a small mound of earth and surrounded by a small moat. Small enough Naruto could step over it, but he would bet no one ever would. Not unless to carve a new name onto its surface. Which for now, only held one. A sniffle, and Naruto placed a hand on the shoulder of his surprising guest today. Little Suda had joined him, and was doing his best to hold back tears. Failing at it, but the kid was trying. Naruto watched butterflies flit about the flower-filled mound, one of which with bright red wings, landing on the memorial itself. As the family grows and our members grow old and pass, we'll add their names from here. Radiating out from Shokiro's in a great spiral. It will be a lasting testament to his sacrifice that truly gave us this fresh start in a new age. Suda nodded at Naruto's words, clearing his tears and sniffing hard. Can I become strong one day? Like Shokiro? Shokiro had always been kind to him. Telling him stories of teaching him fun stuff. Reaching up and ruffling the kid's hair, Naruto nodded firmly once, no sweat. You can be whatever you want in the future. If you want to be strong? You'll get strong with hard work and dedication. Shuffling his feet, Suda turned to look down in the water. It was clear, nothing swam in it just yet. I know I'm a brat. And spoiled. But I want to be better. Super kind and full of great stories of adventure like Shokiro. Super strong and the greatest ever like you. More tears falling, Suda's shoulders shook. I want to be just like the both of you. Able to protect everyone else. Returning his hand to Suda's shoulder, Naruto turns him to face him and takes a knee in front of the kid. Heh, as strong as me? No way. Seeing the crestfallen look on Suda's face, Naruto lightly tapped the boy in the chest. Aim higher. You're going to surpass Shokiro. Be bigger and greater than even I am. That's your goal. But, first. Naruto stood again, unsealing a book and thumping it into Suda's arms. Hit the books. Confusion flooding his mind, Suda took the weathered book with their family crest on its cover. Lord Naruto? Naruto pointed down at the boy, all confidence and self-assurance. The first thing you need to do is learn. To summarize something a wise old man taught me once. If you lack knowledge, read and learn. If you lack strength, train and become hardy. You lack both. So, you got a long road ahead of you. And this is where you start. Placing both hands on his hips as some understanding seemed to enter Suda's mind, Naruto nodded again. Talk to everyone in the family. Practice your chakra control. Train when you can. Learn and grow first as much as you can. And when you can stand before me with the power of our family? Then I will teach you some truly impressive stuff. Suda looked back up to Naruto, eyebrows high. The power of our family? Well, it takes many forms but... Naruto held up a hand, a thin all-white chain rising from his palm to dance in the air, before slithering back from whence it came. You'll figure it out. I believe in you. Suda looked back down at the book in his hand. A finger trailing over the author's name. Uzumaki K. Which one of us wrote this? Heh. Naruto rubbed his nose before turning away to stare at Shokiro's name some more. Tell you what. Make your own Uzumaki mask and I'll tell you. Not a day before. Okay. Lord Naruto, I'll make you proud. That's a promise. A promise of a lifetime. Turning and holding out a fist, Naruto grinned. Be careful. You can't go back on that kind of promise. Suda looked at the large hand held out before him. There were scars there. So many. But they were old, nearly completely healed. The hand of a warrior. He bumped his own much smaller hand against it. I'll make it happen. Believe it. Chapter 85. The sun smiled down on Yuzushio. They had made it another day, and for Naruto, that meant he was a very happy Kage. Not that one would know it, watching him grumble from behind his desk while the city moved on outside his window. Off to the side, Sakura and Sasuke relaxed and stayed out of the way of 3 Naruto clones going about their own stacks of paperwork and report filing, while outside of the large windows they could just make out an airship floating on by peacefully. All in all, it was looking to be a good day. I really need to get out of here. Naruto mumbled as he read over a materials request form from Tazuna. It had only been a few days since Tayuya had signed that approval for the arena, or maybe Coliseum was a better word, and Tazuna had full work crews and the site already cordoned off. Really, Naruto shouldn't be surprised, but he was. I'll have to remember to send some clones along from time to time. Tazuna would appreciate it. Sasuke chuckles from where he was balancing a kunai on his fingertip, relaxed on one couch with his head in Sakura's lap. You could always bug her off to deal with Kokuo or Gyuki. It was still up in the air on who Naruto should deal with first. Kokuo would probably be the easier one emotionally. There would be a lot of bad blood between Naruto and Killer Bee. I say you should relax, like the others said. Sakura barely looked up from the book she was currently reading. A gift textbook from Tsunade. We're short on enemies for the moment, which means we can focus on more normal situations. Like running a city. Normal is subjective, and Uzumaki don't do normal. Naruto easily signed the packet before sliding it into his outbox. Like he was going to say no to a motivated Tazuna. Now next, the Zosencho needed more supplies? Interesting. A chime from his desk breaks his train of thought. What's up, Yuchito? You have visitors. There was a bit of a pause, like she was confused on how to describe who was here. And that had Naruto interested. Okay, send them in. Signing the paperwork he had been reading, he barely had enough time to put it into his outbox before his door slams open. Looking up, he gets blindsided by a full-figured woman bearing auburn hair. Tackle sending him to the floor, Naruto mumbles from somewhere in a tangle of limbs. Oh, good morning, Mei. Sasuke looks back to see not Mei's usual escorts. A nervous-looking Suigetsu and a tired-looking Utakata walking in behind their leader. I'm guessing Mei rushed here after that call? Utakata nodded. Yes, she was very insistent. He did his best to ignore the noises coming from behind the Kage's desk. Mei sprung up to her feet, smiling and face flushed. Oh, Naruto darling, I just had to come and make sure you were all right. I hope you don't mind. Huffing as the older woman made her way back around his desk, Naruto stood and righted his chair with a grin. It would take a lot more than Kumo to put me down. I told you not to worry. Sighing as his chair was back upright, Naruto sat and easily accepted Mei sitting down on the side of his desk instead of a chair. His eyes landed on her shadows. Oh, Utakata, Suigetsu. Welcome, been a while. Utakata bowed deeply. It is good to see you again, Lord Uzumaki. Suigetsu nodded, a hand coming up to rub his head. Yeah, how's it going? Suigetsu was still wary of the other man. This was the dude the Mizukage was in love with and someone who was completely capable of ending him. He really hoped Naruto never learned about him hitting on Mei. Mei, however, was drawing circles on his desk as she eyed him up and down. I was still concerned, and thought bringing 2 of my strongest along just in case would be a good idea. Ao and Chojuro were left behind. Ao to keep the ninja forces in line and Chojuro to help run the administration for a few days. They would be fine. Hopefully. If they knew what was good for them. Patting the woman's hand softly, Naruto gave her an easy grin. I appreciate it. But, you can see I'm all good. Nothing here but paperwork and boredom. You must have intercepted them early. There's no sign of damage to the city when we arrived. Mei had been surprised, having thought that at the least there would be some level of reconstruction going on. Yeah, A and B were detected as they entered our waters. Had to take them on at the beach. Naruto weighed on how much to tell her, before reminding himself that she was a Kage, even if she didn't act like it very often around him. More than a right, she needed to know what was going on. Since you're here, guess I'll tell you now. I had to destroy Kumo. That froze up Mei, missing both Suigetsu and Utakata twitch. You, what? She hadn't heard anything about a village being destroyed. Kumo of all places? She knew Naruto was capable of it, but the thought that he would do it after he had gone through the effort of sparing Iwa. They must have finally pushed him over the edge. Mistaking her silence for judgment, Naruto sighed, yeah. I sent one of mine on a mission to subdue them. I had hoped to do something similar as I had with Iwa, but something went wrong apparently. There's a crater where Kumo used to be. Not much choice in the matter. Well, that wasn't completely true. Naruto could have decided not to send Shokiro, and go against the pact he had made with the elder Uzumaki. Yeah. Mei shook her head and offered Naruto a soft smile, knowing you gave them every opportunity in order to save themselves. They had a long list of crimes they had yet to answer to, and I for one will not miss them. Looking out over the city that had one of the strongest men in the world to protect it, Mei also gave thanks that she had set her own village on course to make amends for their own mistakes. Considering both the Raikage and his Jinchuriki came here themselves to Uzushio, they were obviously set on their course. If you had faltered, they would have continued to seek to destroy you. Not something you could have allowed. You aren't wrong. Naruto still didn't like it, but had made peace with it. Which also meant he wasn't going to waste time by dwelling on the what-ifs. So, you're here, nothing to do. Going to stick around or head back to Kiri? Taking the chance to give Naruto a sultry look, suddenly there was a bit more cleavage on display. A day out on the town would be lovely. Care to show me around Yuzu? Rocketing to his feet, Naruto was already making another clone to take over for him. That's all the excuse I needed. Out of this office we go. Clone high-fiving him, Naruto turned to point at Sasuke and Sakura. Would you show Suigetsu and Utakata to the visitor condo before setting them loose on the city? Oh, and Utakata, I need to have a chat with you later. Allowing the pair who had been lounging around to lead them away, Utakata nodded to the Uzukage. Yes, of course. Curious. Sakura was already rolling her eyes as she could already see the hearts in Mei's eyes. Oh, for the love of dash, Sasuke pulled her along, leading the way. You really want to get between her and Naruto? Mei, the woman who can melt faces? Seeing Sakura blink silently before sighing and shaking her head, Sasuke led the way out of the office. Didn't think so. Mei was already in her happy place, latching onto Naruto's left arm. So where would you like to go first for our cute date? She was now bound and determined to make this a wonderful and relaxing day. Naruto had a smile on his face as they walked by a curious Yujito. Well, I do have somewhere to check out. Come on, I'll show you something new. With a thought, one moment they are walking through the reception office, the next they were touching down just outside of the tower. The sudden rush of noise and fresh air was disorienting, but Mei cuddled into Naruto's side just a bit more, now no longer in view of her subordinates. How are things in Kiri? Oh, the usual. No major conflicts, missions along the eastern continent are steady and our village's clans are coming around to the new way we are doing things. Mei sighed as she thought about the information Naruto had given her. I'm somewhat concerned about the ramifications of one of the major villages being destroyed. Certainly the Lightning Daimyo will be raising a fuss about this. Naruto couldn't have cared less about what the Lightning Daimyo had to say. He certainly hadn't cared when Uzushio was originally destroyed. He can get bent. With no military left, what is he going to do? Whine. Letting his irritation pass after a moment, Naruto pulled Mei into his side with an arm around her waist, though I guess I should keep an eye out. Never know who was outside of the village when it was destroyed. I'd hate for the daimyo to try and send assassins after me. Not that they'd get far. Naruto no longer had patience for anyone who thought they could just march into Uzushio and cause trouble. They'd be getting a hole stomped in their ass. Or tossed into the stratosphere. Could always toss them into a pocket dimension. It'd turn into a prison arena eventually. That so bad? HUH.no, not really. That was an idea he could consider. Their worst enemies tossed in a parallel world all of their own for the rest of their lives? Sounded interesting. Mei hummed as Naruto seemed to ponder over the problem of the Lightning Daimyo. Well, you're strong and intelligent, I'm sure you can handle anything else that comes your way. She pressed herself into his side more firmly. I do mean anything. Rolling his eyes, Naruto navigated them both through the crowds, offering a few waves to faces he recognized as they walked along. Moving through the entertainment district, they were bound for the coast and the construction site of Tasuna's future arena. I think I can take care of you just as you'd like. You've been patient. Hearts in her eyes, Mei nodded quickly. You sure know how to make a woman wait, Naruto. Sometimes the best things in life are worth a little wait. The others have been rather vocal about your abilities. Resolving to curb the others' gossiping later, Naruto grinned, you'll just have to find out for yourself. I can't wait. Mei finally looked up, taking in the flashy and vibrant district that they were walking through. It was busy here, sidewalks full of people while the street rumbled with trolley cars moving back and forth. It's lively. Entertainment district, can find a little bit of anything and everything here. But, where we're going is outside of the city. We gave the okay for an arena to be built. Oh, an arena? Like Konoha? She had heard that Konoha's area was an impressive bit of construction. Oh, we're going to put Konoha's arena to shame when we're done here. That's a promise. Mei nods, taking in the peaceful atmosphere with the same wonder that she always did when in Uzushio. The civilians here seemed so happy, and didn't even balk at the occasional Samui Guard patrol or the large golem escorts that carried around children. Military city it may be, but the people never seemed to even acknowledge it. I could live somewhere like this eventually. Like I tell Tsunade every time I see her, give up the chair, I'll have a space for you right away. Oh, am I not coming to your home? Going to whisk me away to somewhere more private, more secluded? You're not catching me there. Tsunade may be getting her own beach house, but none of the girls would put up with you being anywhere else but at the estate. You're stuck, whether you know it or not. Sounds lovely. Just you wait. Naruto chuckled as they settled in and relaxed for their walk. It was nice to spend some time outside with no real burdens on his mind. His clones were taking care of the desk, most of the girls were back home with the rest of the clan while a few went about the city with their own self-imposed duties. Hinata working between all the clans while most likely being escorted by Yugo and his girls. Karen was probably with the barrier team while Anoka recovered. She had been very determined. Had been. She should be awake by now. Naruto pat himself on the back for a job well done, before his attention was attracted to someone else he was thinking about. Was that Tayuya and Tsunami walking along ahead of them? Sure looked like it. Yo, Tachan. Whipping around and nearly smacking Tsunami with her longer hair, Tayuya was all smiles as she locked eyes with her husband. Naruto. Pausing in their own walk, Tayuya and Tsunami let Naruto and Mei catch up to them. Tayuya immediately latched onto Naruto's other arm, icy Mei's back. For good maybe? Tayuya liked the older woman, she was feisty. Shaking his head with a chuckle, Naruto focused on Tsunami as they all continued their walk. What's got you both all the way out here? Holding up a carry box, Tsunami sighed. Father and Inari got to work right away once approval was announced. I'm coming to make sure that they actually eat something. Plus it got her out of the house. Sure, her duties kept her busy, but not that busy now that she'd trained more assistants. Naruto was already grinning, they're just passionate is all. Tayuya smacked him, more like hyper-focused. A trait someone else seems to share. Sometimes it was rather endearing. Most others, it was a bit of a nightmare. Hugging Mei and Tayuya tighter for a moment, Naruto focused ahead as the group continued on together. It would be good to see Tazuna and Inari again. And after that, well. The beach wasn't far away, he'd bet it wouldn't be hard to condense Mei into a swimsuit. Scene changed panting, body aching, and more than a little sweat dripping onto the ground. Kiba and Shino both were bent over as they finally had a chance to rest as they stood under the monument to Team 7 on the Great Naruto Bridge. When Guy said that he wanted to be to wave as fast as possible, he sure meant it. A trip that should have taken 4 days, done in a day and a half. Even Akamaru, larger and should have been well adapted to such a run, was laid out and having trouble catching his breath. Kibo promises to give his partner all of the treats he could find later. Fresh as a daisy, Guy stood tall and laughed. You boys need to up your training. A little run like that wore you out already? Shame. Look at Lee. He's just fine. Lee was already smiling and saluting his sensei, of course Guy-sensei. Such a run would only be a warm-up on a good day. Kiba groaned and shared a look with Shino. A warm-up. He says. They certainly or something. Kiba nodded as Akamaru whined, that's one way to describe them. Guy started along, forcing the others to drag themselves after him. Don't be dramatic. Come. We have a mission to complete. This would be a good chance to visit Konoha's newest ally. And when we return to Konoha, we'll get to stoking your youthful fires. Your physical conditioning is lacking. Lee cheered and pumped a first into the air, and I shall assist. It is our duty to make sure all of our friends and comrades reach their full potential, Guy-sensei. Kiba raised a finger into the air and waved it about. Yay, Akamaru shambled along next to him, begging to be picked up. Not today, buddy, Kiba might just collapse first. Guy barely even flinched as a woman in her early 20s almost seemed to melt out of the crowd next to him, holding a clipboard. Good afternoon and welcome to Wave. Name, village of origin, and reason for visit? Guy had been warned about Yuzushio's gate policy. Team Guy from Konoha. Here to deliver a scroll to the Yuzukage. Pen scribbling about on her clipboard, the bubbly woman smiled and gave Guy a slight nod. Done and done. Welcome to Wave, please keep to the streets and off of the rooftops, and do not cause any trouble during your visit. Someone will be along to escort you shortly. Just as she had come, she was gone, melting back into the crowd silently enough that even Shino shivered. That was interesting. Guy crossed his arms and led the way down the main road. They do this every day, probably dozens of times. I'm sure they have had plenty of time to practice their own techniques. It also put on display just how talented their ninja could be right away. Able to spot other ninja right away and single them out. That showed that Yuzushio could openly sort you out and approach you with no fear. Not a group you'd want to get on the wrong side of. No, where is this train station? Lee hummed and consulted a map that Tsunade had provided. Towards the end of the main road, sir. Right, onward then. Kiba takes a sniff of the air, before wrinkling his nose at the scents that assaulted him. Sure, the sea air was nice enough, if it didn't come along with a tinge of rotting vegetation and industry from the port. No longer in the fresh air of Land of Fire forests, he supposed. Smells. My bugs aren't a fan either. Lee took in the sights, marveling at all of the different people that moved around them. This is an industrious place. So busy. Wave is a port city, which are almost always bound to be busy thoroughfares. Couple that with this being the only water port that one can use to reach Yuzushio, and that gives another layer to it all. Guy hummed as he thought about it. Sure, it limited traffic that could arrive to Yuzushio proper, but it did cut down on infiltration and invasion attempts. Considering what happened to Yuzushio of the past, it was a fitting change. If Yuzushio gets any bigger, won't they need to open up their own water port? Kiba's question got a shrug from Guy. Possibly. If they ever heal past the trauma of how their village was destroyed previously. That may never come to pass, and they'll adapt a different method of major goods transportation, I'm sure. Guy could see a large steel and glass structure ahead, belching steam and smoke. The train station then. Good. We're almost there. Another group was there to meet them, a smiling Hinata with her braided hair over her shoulders and jacket flowing in the wind. Behind her, the tall and imposing Yugo was flanked by the smirking forms of Sasami and Kin. Hinata was quick to bow lightly to the team from Konoha. Welcome everyone, how was your journey? Kiba didn't whine, he didn't. Can you come back? Please? Free us from this maniac. Exchanging a hug with the taller and rough-looking boy, Hinata giggled as she scratched Akamaru between the ears. No can do. Unless you want to fight Naruto and the rest of the girls. Shino leaned in, half-hugging Hinata as well. I don't think Kiba wants another major loss on his record. I didn't lose that badly. Ignoring the pouting Kiba, Guy was still all grins as he stepped forward, an eye on Hinata's escorts as he moved slowly and unsealed the scroll provided by Tsunade. You're aware of why we're here then? Attempting to take the scroll from Guy, only to have Yugo step in and perform that task, Hinata rolled her eyes as the Riptide squad leader did his duty. Yes. I'm sure Naruto will have a letter for you to return to Tsunade. Please, this way. Accepting the checked-over scroll from Yugo, who concluded it was safe, she set about turning away and leading them all to the sectioned-off private train for Yuzushio VIPs. Team Guy took in the contingent of samurai guards formed up and keeping normal traffic far away from that section of the station. Kiba took it in and whistled loud. Guess being Naruto's girl has its perks, huh? Giggling and waving off an irritated-looking Yugo, Hinata nodded, something like that. He's just overprotective is all. More like everyone in Yuzushio was. Having come clean about her pregnancy, she shouldn't have been surprised. Stepping up onto the train with a hand from Sasami, Hinata led them all onto the plush train car. So, how has Konoha been? Anything new or exciting? Kiba and Shino sat across from her, while Guy and Lee took seats across the aisle from them. Yugo went on to the front, while Sasami and Kin sat in the seat behind her. Shino was the one to update her while Kiba was fussing over Akamaru at the window. Well, things have been calm lately after the excitement of your younger sister leaving Konoha. That's a nice way to put her running away. Yes, it is. Giving Kiba a cross look, Shino continued, on the whole, the Hyuga seemed to even be, dare I say, more down to earth lately. Humming as she thought about it, Hinata would have to see for herself, life has probably kicked them into gear. Left without the branch family, the main branch will have had to start doing all of the mundane tasks all on their own. It would be hard to lord over everyone else as holier than thou, when you were back to doing your own laundry and cleaning. Tayuya and Ino would probably get a kick out of the news. Kiba crosses his arms and huffs, finally letting Akamaru stick his head out of the window to pant in the wind. There's still a bunch of stuffed shirts. Dai had his arms crossed as he relaxed and enjoyed the ride underground, speaking up on some of the rumors he had heard lately. It appears your younger sister is coming into her own springtime. She's quite smitten with Konohamaru lately. Why, he's had the most positive effect on her, I believe. Eyebrows raising, Hinata would have to grill her sister on that. She hadn't brought the boy up in their conversations at all lately. Please look after her, I'm sure father can't be happy about that. Maybe she really would need to go and visit Konoha soon. Make sure her father wasn't up to his usual nonsense. She and Naruto could have fun with it. Shaking his head as Shino promised to do just as she asked, Kiba was grinning. It's become a bit of a betting pool to see what's going to happen first. Is Hayashi going to catch Konohamaru one of these days, or is Asuma going to finally lose it? My money's on Asuma. Feeling the train begin to slow, Hinata smiles as she begins to stand. I have a feeling Konohamaru can take care of himself just fine. He took after Naruto, perhaps a bit too much. She'd have to ask Naruto if he had trained the boy at all. Anything else I miss? How are your own love lives? Before Kiba could launch into a bravado tirade, Shino slapped a hand over his mouth. Kiba is still very much single, though not for lack of trying. Pushing the hand away, Kiba grumbled, not cool, man. I'm saving time. Shino wasn't concerned himself. When he was ready, he would pursue such a goal. Letting Kin take the lead, the black-haired girl's head held high as she moved past the Konoha team. Hinata followed along behind her as the visiting team kept pace with her. Well, I would say come and visit Uzushio more often, might help your chances. Stepping down into the busy Uzushio station, Hinata led the way outside while Lee and the others looked around with some wonder. In the distance, they could make out 3 airships floating through the air. One bound for the fortress, while another was docked with the tower and another seemed to be on its way out of the area. By Hinata's estimation, probably to Suna. Guy whistled, guess that explains how goods are making it to Uzushio, beyond just this rail line. Airships, a product of spring and a hot topic these days. Stepping to a waiting trolley car, Hinata nodded as everyone joined her, Yugo again taking the lead to speak with the conductor. It does make shipping here easier. Plus, they're certainly a tourist attraction. Several Land of Fire nobility had been pestering them for sky tours and such. With peace returning to Uzushio, they might just get their wish. She idly waved to a group of women from the Hataru clan who all bowed deeply to her. Lee had a look of confusion on his face as he saw the group. Weren't those? Hinata nodded. The Hataru, a new clan who have settled here in Uzushio. Guy laughed and gave Lee a few hard pats on the back. The Hataru, you say? If they are in Uzushio clan, they must be formidable. You would be correct. Still smiling, Hinata felt Sasami tap her on the shoulder. Yes, Sasami? Have you eaten yet today, Lady Uzumaki? Rolling her eyes, Hinata just knew that was Karen's influence on everyone. Yes, Sasami, I've eaten, and it isn't even noon yet. Though she did have a craving for spicy ramen. Maybe she could make a stop at Iam's later. Just making sure, Lady Karen was very adamant that you eat and drink regularly. Ken leaned in as well, swaying with the motion of the car under them. Plus, we have to keep you away from Iam's. Her food is healthy enough. Ken smirked, not according to Karen. I'll make sure to let Iam and Naruto know that. Watching the women banter back and forth, Kiba raised an eyebrow. Are they your guards or babysitters? He missed Akamaru looking Hinata's way before huffing and laying down on the floor. It wasn't his business if his partner couldn't smell the difference. Shino as well didn't feel like passing along the message, his bugs reporting the change in his friend easily. Staying healthy and well-nourished is no laughing matter. Mao, not you too, Shino. I'm fine. Fine. Hinata puffed out her cheeks before turning back to the front. Even if I think everyone's being overprotective. Yugo kept his silence on the matter as Kin continued on. Secretly you like it. She most certainly did not. Huffing, Hinata turned back to her friends. Naruto should be in his office, so we're headed to the city center. They were already passing through the suburban areas, coming into the more industrial city area, and all the noise and sounds that accompanied that. Guy took it all in with a critical eye. Uzushio certainly is a lively and youthful place. It has grown much in a short time. I admit, if we weren't an island nation, we might not have had such a good time of it. Isolation has done wonders for us. Plus, our citizens are motivated. Their car joining the traffic flow and beginning to circle the main tower, Hinata lightly hopped out and waited for the others to join her. Let's get inside. Yugo and the others led the way this time, pausing for a moment with Hinata to pay their respects at the monument before continuing on. Yugo gives Team Guy an appreciative eye as they read the inscription before giving silent prayers as well. At the least they were polite Konoha ninja. Inside they went, though Hinata weaved through the traffic and turned back to face them. Just a warning, Naruto might have an important visitor. After Mei had joined them yesterday, Hinata was sure it would take an active force to remove the woman before she was ready. Not that the girls wanted to see their fellow wife leave just yet. Everyone stuffing into an elevator, Guy hummed at the information. A visitor, anyone we know? Lady Mei, the Mizukage. All three of the younger team members stood a bit straighter, Shino voicing their concerns. The Mizukage is here? Are we interrupting something important? Hinata shook her head. No, it's an informal visit. Nothing serious. Just didn't want to surprise you. The elevator door opened and the group piled out. Hinata raised an eyebrow at the calm Samui sitting at the secretary desk. Good morning, Samui. What happened to Yujito? Sighing and eyeing up the Uzumaki woman, Samui waved a hand back and forth. Naruto decided she needed a mandatory day off. She's apparently hanging out with Isaribi. And I asked for something to do. I can only laze around Yujito's apartment for so long. Well, that was interesting. Hinata waved as Yugo held the door open. Don't push yourself too hard, okay? And don't mention that around Karen or Tayuya, they'll find something for you to do for sure. Of course not, Lady Uzumaki. Congrats, by the way. Smiling brightly and flowing into Naruto's office, Hinata has no warning as she's whisked into the arms of another well-endowed woman. Mei twirled her around in the middle of the space with a joyous laugh before setting her down again and hugging her tightly. Oh, hello Mei. You're in a good mood. Of course. Why didn't you tell me you were pregnant? Now I have to stay. I'll give the hat to Ao, Kiri will be fine. Mei had so many plans and ideas. She couldn't wait. Naruto coughed as he could see Kiba visibly vibrating in place. Mei, beautiful, you can't just toss the hat off like that. What will your people think? Uzushio is an ally anyway, it'll be fine. Fine. Mei was already swinging the shorter woman to the couch to gush and make plans. The Uzumaki would be a big clan, mark her words. Kiba was already marching towards Naruto's desk, hand slamming down on its heavy wood surface. You dog you. You just couldn't wait. Wasn't me who was impatient. Says you, I bet you couldn't wait to get your hands on Hinata. And here we were worried about you guys. Trying and failing to take the dog boy seriously, Naruto turned to the happy-looking Akamaru who was being attended to by the happy pair of Sasami and Kin, now able to relax in his office. Can you control your mutt, Akamaru? Woof. Hey, I'm right here, asshole. Kiba. I will smack you around in full view of my city and my people. That's a promise, not a threat. I'd like to see you try. We're older now, and you've been stuck behind a desk. That's it. You need a reminder. Naruto was over his desk in an instant, falling into a brawl with the Beast Boy. Lee and Shino leaned over to Yugo, who could only watch on with a sigh as Sasuke and Sakura seemed to be taking bets behind Naruto's desk. Lee was more than a little concerned. Is this normal? Yugo nodded. For Uzushio? Completely. Suigetsu winced as with a crunch, Naruto was standing proudly on top of a hog-tied Kiba. No one asked where he got the rope from, or why it was purple. I really am glad I didn't pick a fight with him. He's crazy. Utakata had to agree. This is a leader of a major village? Naruto could overhear them, and gave them both a thumbs up. You bet your ass I am. Guy had a fist clenched as Naruto hopped down from Kiba's back and made it back to his desk. So cool. All grins and appreciating some easy chaos, Naruto dropped back into his chair with a grin. So, what brings Team Guy here to Uzushio? Hinata raised a hand from the couch. They made their last payment to us. Guess the old lady wants a letter from me then? Okay, hold on a minute. Set on his task, Naruto started to pen a letter to the Hokage. Sure, he could deliver it himself, but that would ruin the fun. Shino looked down on his teammate, flatly ignoring Akamaru offering his belly, which was soon vigorously rubbed. Are we going to leave him like this? Naruto didn't even look up. You want to join him? Never mind. Shino knew better than that. Even if he didn't, his bugs sure wouldn't be helping him in that fight. Good man. MMPH. Kiba thrashed and raged, but was summarily ignored. Mei was holding Hinata's hands into her own, a bright smile still firmly in place. Have you thought about names yet? Do you know how many? Any word on if any of the others might be coming along? If they weren't, Mei sure wouldn't mind putting herself in the running. Not yet. Well, I have one, if we have a girl, but no boy names yet. Not sure, I'm pretty sure I'm only having the one. And besides myself, there's just Tayuya, Kotohime, and Koyuki. So that's 4 of us now. Naruto sure is a dedicated husband. Here Mei turned to give Naruto a lidded gaze. When's my turn? Ask and you shall receive. Finishing up his letter and sealing it properly, Naruto tossed it to the waiting guy. There you go. You're free to hang out in the city for the day. I'm sure Yugo can show you to the visitor apartments. Guy was already shaking his head. Nonsense. We must return post-haste. Why, this may even be the perfect time for training. Lee was before him in an instant. Yes, Guy-sensei. It is your duty to carry Kiba back to Konoha. If you should fail, you will carry me on your back for 4 days straight around Konoha's walls as punishment. Do you accept this task? Of course, Guy-sensei. And if I should fail, I will further increase my training by increasing the weight to include yourself and our teammates. Truly you are an inspiration, young Lee. I'm so proud. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Both men came together in a manly hug. Such was the energy that the sunset upon crashing waves that sprung into being behind them was powerful indeed. All activity stopped in Naruto's office. Short of Naruto himself chortling while Sakura punched him in the shoulder repeatedly. Make them stop. Please. Suigetsu was vibrating in place. What is this? Utakata continued to try and fail to release the obvious genjutsu they were under. This is an ultimate genjutsu. It's unbreakable. Stepping away and watching Lee pick up Kiba, Guy saluted Naruto, who returned the gesture. Then, by your leave Uzukage, we shall depart. Akamaru whined loudly even though he disengaged from the 2 women who had been paying attention to him, now rubbing their eyes furiously. No worries, Guy, I'll come pay Tsunade a visit soon. Mei blinked slowly before turning to Hinata for some type of confirmation. Is that normal? Hinata nodded with a bright smile. For them, yes. Konoha ninja are an odd bunch. Mei watched the smaller one in all green pick up the rough-looking boy and toss him in a fireman's carry before the team left back through the door. Very odd. Naruto was still laughing. I think it's great. They were Uzushio. This sort of thing made the days go by quickly. Now I'm in the mood for a party. Where was Naruto? He needed a fight. Scene change. The day did in fact pass quickly, and with evening coming on, Naruto had a spare moment to take care of some business. Back home and wandering around the forest, with a thought, a massive scroll wrapped in a pure white chain burst into life in his arms. It was also another thought that he flashed away, yet another pocket dimension separate from Zetsu's. This one was special, featuring a wide and open field, an expanse that looked to have no end. It did, of course. All things did. But today, it was just a precaution. Tossing the scroll and removing his chain, he watched the bleeding body of Han drop to the ground. There was a moan, some struggle, but Naruto was already there, shoving a heel into the older man's gut. Yo, Kokuo, you in there? There was a sense of vertigo, and Naruto was there, standing before a restored Han, while behind him and caged in stone was Kokyo, the 5 tails. Behind Naruto, Kurama grinned down at the elder Iwa shinobi with eyes full of malice. Oh, can I eat him? Naruto ignored the panic that reached Han's eyes. Go for it. Naruto didn't even bat an eye as a paw scooped up Han. His focus was on the trapped Biju. Welp, first things first. Kokuo sighed, knowing this was coming but still wishing it wasn't. So, I'm to be made into another weapon? Nope. With some effort, Naruto broke down the seal holding Kokuo in place, watching the stone pillars all crumble and fall to the ground in a crash. Walking forward to stand before one of Kurama's siblings, Naruto offered it a wide smile. You're free if you want. I just need a favor. Standing and stretching, Kokuo marveled at the boy before him. He released him, just like that. He hadn't even extracted a promise from Kokuo first. Sure, perhaps Kurama may protect the boy, but that was no guarantee either. A favor? He ignored the crunch from behind them, as well as the splash of liquid hitting the ground. Naruto only barely twitched. Yeah. I just need a small amount of chakra. I'm putting the old lady back together. Kokuo tilted his head this way and that, Now that Han was gone, he could get a real feel for Naruto's soul. Interesting. So that's your game? Yeah, sorta. It's say no more, young one. I will assist. Kokuo leaned down, giant form nudging Naruto in the chest with his snout in order to exchange chakra. It will be interesting to see where this goes. Well, that was easy. Gyuki may not be as such. Plus, I do not wish to fight anymore. Naruto nodded, arms linked behind his head. Well, then on to the next issue. Where do you want to go? I can drop you just about anywhere in the world at this rate. That is a question. Kokuo made a show of thinking about it as Naruto and Kurama watched him, the other Biju laying down next to Naruto. You have multiple islands in your nation, yes? Yeah. Good, I would like to claim one for myself. Say, those Yuki? They wouldn't mind if I napped near their home, would they? I might make a cave for myself. Kurama huffed, you're all so lazy. Only because you, Shikaku, and Matatabi are so active. Naruto shrugged, yeah, I'm sure we can make that happen. Then that is where I would like to go. Standing and watching the world fade around them, Naruto blinks and they are back in his pocket dimension. Han's body bursts with chakra, before Kokuo is standing high and mighty before him, though a bit shorter than Kurama. I'll come back in just a bit for you. Think you can deal with being here for a short while? Kokuo nodded as he took in the long and flat plains. It would be nice to stretch my legs for a short while. Though, Naruto. Some caution. Oh, what's up? Naruto turned back to Kokuo, Kurama huffing in his mind that they should start a fight with Gyuki. Your plan, be careful. Father did warn us of this course. Offering another grin as Naruto gave the Biju a thumbs up, he made the Biju a promise. Don't you sweat. I've got this covered, promise ya. Accepting the young man's confidence for what it was, Kokuo turned to run around the space. Then, I will leave some of my power to you. And then he was gone, enjoying his freedom while he could. Naruto watched him go, before with a thought he was back in the real world. The forest around him was quiet, fireflies buzzing around him softly and giving him little light to work with. But it was enough as he turned to head back home. Tonight had gone well, he would give it a few days to maybe a week, and then he'd do this again. Gyuki needed to be released, and maybe a short conversation with Killer Bee Omake Temari was a lot of things, loud, confident, a bit brash to be sure. But, depending on the day, a bit of a softy at heart, though that was only behind closed doors. That said, as she wandered the halls of the Uzumaki estate, she wondered at the chill in the air. It was no Suna, that much was sure. There the nights could get downright freezing, but here, with the constant sea breeze, it never seemed to get all that cold. It was cool, yes, but never freezing. Even in the black and orange robe she had borrowed, she was pretty comfortable. But why was she up when no one else was? Well, she couldn't sleep. She wouldn't admit so easily to missing her brothers, but she did. She was just a bit homesick, and thought that maybe a soak in the hot spring might finally knock her out. So that was where she was headed, hair down for once as she moved through the changing area and opened the door finally to the bathing area. She shouldn't have been surprised by the head of blonde hair there. She wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth tonight. Naruto leaned back, taking in Temari all at once, before waving her way. Hey Mari. Sorry, did I wake you? Having not been tired enough to sleep himself, Naruto thought a night out under the stars would help him out. No luck yet, but that was okay. Shaking her head as she took off and folded her robe onto a nearby bench, she easily slid her way into the bath next to him. No, I just couldn't sleep. Wanna talk about it? He raised an arm as the quiet woman made herself comfortable into his side. Well, he might be able to understand her feelings on the matter. One of her problems at least. I still have nightmares, sometimes. Grateful that he allowed her time to gather her thoughts and didn't immediately interject, Temari sighed and leaned more into him. I know Kankuro is fine. That's he's healthy and in one piece, but I still can see it. See that steam, feel the heat, that terror. You miss your brothers then? Quietly, Temari nodded but was quick to face him, turning fully towards him, but I love it here. It's great to finally be with the girls, to be with you. Here. Feeling Naruto gently hold her hands, Temari took a deep breath. Sometimes I just want to see them. Just for my peace of mind. That's all. Amari. All you had to do was ask. You know I could have flashed you to Suna and back anytime you wished. I'm never that busy. I didn't want to seem selfish. You see me for me. Treat me like just another person, another woman. Not the Kazakage's sister or village royalty. You aren't scared of me. Or my brothers. You're amazing. Chuckling, Naruto kept his eyes firmly on her own, which is why you know I wouldn't judge you like that, Mari. Heck. Hinata regularly calls up her sister every few days. Ino has me flash her to see her parents almost weekly. Kotoheim is the same with her clan, though not as often. You should know that I'm not going to be offended by you wanting to see your family. And I'm certainly not going to abandon you. You mean it? On my honor. Giggling, Temari finally sighed with some relief, her heart feeling a bit lighter as she sat down in his lap. Well, that's one load off that I don't have to worry about. Maybe. Tomorrow? Wrapping his arms around her waist, Naruto nodded, sure thing, Mari. Tomorrow. Here Temari leaned over him, scooting further in his lap, but, for tonight. I have you all to myself. Smile becoming a smirk, Naruto pulled her closer to him easily. Guess you still need to be tired out? Like you wouldn't believe. Well, Naruto wasn't going to ignore a wife in need. Nope. Never. Chapter 86. Iwa was of all things, a village of resilience. Recent events notwithstanding, the mood was hopeful. They still had their lives, which allowed for a chance. A chance for a future and maybe, something better. In their Kage's office, Kuratsuchi sighed and worked through materials and goods reports. They were a vassal state of Uzushio now, which meant their new masters wanted regular reports of not only what they were doing, but what came and went through their village. Once more, she considered it a small price to pay if it meant they survived. Certainly better than what happened to Kumo, if that news was to be believed. Unfortunate that she couldn't send a scout team to confirm it. Behind her, Akatsuchi leaned against the wall and grunted, what do you think will happen now? With Kumo no more, there's no one to oppose the Uzumaki. We certainly don't have that power anymore. Whether they ever really did have that power went unsaid. Kuratsuchi shrugs, having already debated with herself on the subject more than enough, doesn't matter. With Kumo gone, we'll have to bide our time. It might not happen in my lifetime, or the next generations, but someone will figure something out. Pausing as she leaned back and looked at her guard, Kuratsuchi offered him a smirk. At the least, we can be thankful that we didn't suffer the same fate. We could have ended up as a smoking crater. Akatsuchi wanted to mention that having an existence that was little more than functional slaves didn't seem much better, but held his tongue. Best not to get on his Kage's bad side. It only proves how evil the Uzumaki really are though. Why annihilate Kumo when negotiation was an option? Not even allowing women and children to leave either? Despicable. We weren't much better. Or did you forget your history lessons about what Kumo and Iwa did to Uzushio Bikure of the past? Kuratsuchi sighs and goes back to writing, wishing her grandfather was here to do this, and not her. If the Uzumaki were the evil overlords Kumo said they were, we'd be just as much of a crater as they are. Rather merciful if you ask me. My lady. You of all of us should hate the Uzumaki the most. How can you side with them? I'm not. Kuratsuchi didn't even pause in her writing, even if her tone dropped into something far colder than she normally used. I do in fact, hate the Uzumaki. More than anyone can ever understand. Or at least, their clan leader Naruto. But I can recognize that we were in the wrong. If he had wanted, we would all be dead and there would be nothing the world could do about it. Why do you suppose he didn't? Pausing and waiting for an answer that she knew wasn't going to come, Kuratsuchi motioned out her window to the village that was going about its day without her. He cares about people. All of them. Civilians young and old, ninja, you and me even. He gave us a chance, and when it came down to making a choice, my grandfather chose to take the village's sins onto himself. Sacrificing his life so we could have another chance. Hand pausing, Kuratsuchi stared into the stone of her desk. Naruto honored that sacrifice, accepting Inoki's life in lieu of the rest of the village. Now Iwa gets to continue on into the future, even if we barely function as a ninja village anymore. Looking away from the bright light from outside, Akatsuchi crossed his arms. That bastard deserves to burn in hell for what he's done. Oh, I won't discount that. But we're ninja. We've all done something for us to deserve the fires. Naruto just proved he wasn't so different than the rest of us. Both Kuratsuchi and Akatsuchi looked up, interrupted in their conversation by clapping coming from the closed door of her office. Naruto stood there, a grin on his face as he walked towards her. Well said, well said. Good to know you're being so pragmatic about this. Naruto paused a few paces from her desk, waiting for the outburst he knew was coming. Not disappointing him, Akatsuchi was stepping towards him, though careful to stay well outside of striking range. What are you doing here? Leave, you don't belong. Considering the larger man for a moment as one might an annoying fly, Naruto turned bored eyes to the calm Kuratsuchi. Control your dog, we need to have a chat and I don't want to be here any longer than I need to be. Dark eyes latching onto Naruto's own blue, it was Kuratsuchi who finally sighed and waved a hand over her shoulder. Akatsuchi, take a walk. I'll be fine. Neck almost snapping with how fast he turned to his Kage, Akatsuchi scowled deeply. You want me to leave you alone with this? Yes, I do. That's an order, Akatsuchi. You should not be alone with him. If he wanted me dead, hell all of us dead, we already would be. Go on Akatsuchi, I'll be fine. Naruto watched as Akatsuchi trembled in place, stuck between deciding if following orders or fighting against him were the better option. He could see the gears turning in the larger man's head, and only just held off from antagonizing him. It'd be a boring fight. Not even worth it. At least Kurama's priorities hadn't changed. Standing up straight and bowing to Kuratsuchi, Akatsuchi reined in his temper finally. As you wish, Lady Tsuchikage. Turning smartly on a heel, Akatsuchi made for the door. Eyes locked onto Naruto until he brushed past the teen, Akatsuchi left the office peacefully in the end. There is silence in the office as Kuratsuchi returns to her work while Naruto watches her for a moment. Well, at the least she wasn't the emotional wreck that he had left in the dirt. Chuckling and walking forward, he unsealed a medium-sized bottle and 2 glasses. Placing them down and opening the liquor, Naruto filled each glass in turn. Well, gotta say, good to see you can be so level-headed about things. What choice do I have? Kuratsuchi stopped finally, eyeing Naruto and the drink he was pushing her way. Why are you here? Naruto took a seat in one of the provided chairs, leaning back as he grabbed one of the glasses. Oh, you know. I was around and had some time. Thought I'd see what your reaction was going to be. Naruto watched her take the other glass, eyeing the amber liquid within before taking a sip. Well, she was braver than A points to her. Kumo is gone, I'm sure you've heard. Wanted to know what you thought about that. What I think, huh? The alcohol burned down Kuratsuchi's throat, but she rather liked the smoky aftertaste all the same. I don't care. Iwa is here and Kumo isn't, that's all I need to know. Not worried, Iwa will be next. You would not be a man of your word if we were. Unless you're admitting to being a monster like A said you were repeatedly. Oh, I'm a monster, but not one that lies. That's for humans. Ignoring the curious look from Kuratsuchi, Naruto hummed and took another sip. So, no plots or plans from you? That's a good thing then, shows progress. Kuratsuchi shrugged, there's not much for me to do. I can't fight against a kami. Here Naruto took a sip of his own, grinning and pointing at her, you could try. Might be fun. Feeling some irritation at the open mockery, Kuratsuchi took another drink and stared hard at Naruto. Why are you here? Just to antagonize me? Ruin my day? Laughing and shaking his head, Naruto rocked in the chair a bit. You know, if you had shown me this side of you first, I might have liked you a bit more. Seeing she was if anything, more irritated, Naruto sighed and let the chair fall back onto all of its legs. Guess no more fun for him. I'm here to check in. Make sure you're following your orders and no funny business was going on out here. Kuratsuchi frowned and looked almost ready to throw her drink at him. You can't just show up and do as you please whenever you want. You aren't the Kage here. You don't own Iwa. Smirking, Naruto's eyes flashed with inner light for a moment. Oh, I don't? Remind me, why are you the Kage now? Ah, there it was. Rage flashed behind those eyes now, and Naruto was reminded that at her core, Kuratsuchi would kill him if she had the power. Standing slowly and finishing his drink, Naruto placed his empty glass next to the mostly full bottle. Look, I'm still kinda hoping that one day you'll come around to see my way of thinking. We don't have to be enemies. Hell, not even friends either. But we could respect each other. Besides, there are scarier things out there than me. Anything more terrifying than you had to have come from the very depths of hell itself. Kuratsuchi eyed the empty glass and then Naruto himself. Unless you have a sister? Technically true, but I'm way more of a threat than she can ever hope to be. Naruto huffed and looked out on the village below them, senses feeling out to get a general feel of things. But it's fair, I guess, for you to feel that way about me. I only spared your village and your people. Didn't even kill your ninja, at least the ones that didn't come and attack my home. Oh yes, very magnanimous of you. Sparing us and killing my grandfather in front of me. Shrugging and not refuting her argument as it would be a wasted effort, Naruto motioned with his chin out of the window. I thought I told you, reduced forces, 200 or less. Eyes wide, Kuratsuchi felt something cold grip her heart. We did. Our active forces are below 180 just to be sure. Had she missed something, or had her irritation angered him? Shrugging, Naruto turned back towards her, walking to her desk and placing both hands on its surface. You're smart, Kuratsuchi. Honestly, I'm impressed with you. Eyes glowing for a moment, Naruto smiled finally and stood up straight. And since you're doing as you're told, I can head back home without any worries. This was just a checkup, and I've got more to do today. People to see, monsters to kill. You know how it goes. There's only one real monster to worry about these days. Kuratsuchi released a breath she hadn't noticed she was holding. That terror that gripped her was hard to shake. Iwa did not want to share Kumo's fate. Well, I think we should do this again sometime. I'll be around, Miss Tsuchikage. Stepping back, with a whisper, Naruto is gone, leaving Kuratsuchi alone in her office. Eyeing the spot where he had been standing, Kuratsuchi tried to get a lock on what she was feeling. It was a hard task, her eyes turning to the bottle he had left behind. Her reflection stared back at her, questioning her for answers she didn't have. Reaching across the table, she snagged the bottle and refilled her glass, deciding it didn't matter. None of it did. So she would get back to work, make it an early day, and maybe get some enjoyment out of spending time around a peaceful village. Really was too bad. Good as this alcohol was, she had been hoping it was poison. Scene change, the council chambers were quiet, Tsunade having just delivered the news about Kumo to the assembled clan heads situated around her meeting table. She had half expected Hayashi to blow up right away, but even he seemed to be contemplating things quietly. Good for him, saved her the headache. Shibi Aburame was the first to raise a hand. What does this mean now for Konoha and our plans? Yuzushio is our ally and thus, we should be safe from any further action. But even still, we had a certain hand in events that led up to Kumo's destruction. Tsunade waved that concern off easily. At the least, from Yuzushio, we're safe. Lord Uzumaki has even admitted that while Konoha had wronged him in the past, he had worked towards forgiving us. We aren't our predecessors after all. Much like Kiri, we have a second chance. Tsum worked a finger at the tabletop, chewing on her lip a bit, to think one man could have enough power to eradicate an entire village. To wipe it off the map. That could have been us. The Nara clan head, Shikaku, grunted at that, but it wasn't. Our own Kage had the good sense to ally ourselves closely with the new Yuzushio, and it has paid off. Now the question is, what next? Should we not expand, take some of Kumo's territory for our own? The Land of Fire could benefit from the minerals and heavy metals available in those mountains. Hayashi had his own thoughts on the matter, but held them in now that there were opportunities to consider. Tsum could see the logic in that. One of Konoha's and thus the Land of Fire's larger threats is gone now. Guess there is less to worry about. Oh, I did not say we should not worry. There is still very much a monster we must tread carefully around. Hayashi's dislike of Naruto was still very real and very present. Rolling her eyes, Tsunade taps a fingernail on the table. Need I remind you, Hayashi, that is Naruto Uzumaki you're talking about. A son of Konoha, even if he's left to rebuild his clan's ancestral home. He's kept his word, and we should be doing the same. Shikaku agrees with their Kage on that matter. Something to think about. Did we ever track down just who attempted to assassinate Naruto in that bombing? Think he might still hold a grudge over that? Tsum had heard enough about the Uzumaki lord from her own brat. Something tells me Naruto isn't one to worry about the small things. And someone blowing up his apartment is something he'd absolutely consider small. Hayashi grunted at that. Need I remind you my daughter was almost killed in that blast. The daughter you all but disowned at the time? Remind me. Turning to the bestial woman, Hayashi's eyes tightened. What my clan does internally is none of your concern. Just as yours is none of mine. Oh, I'm real scared there, Hyuga. How's the new desk working for ya? Once Tsum had heard that little story through the grapevine, she vowed to never let it go. It was too amazing, and she owed Naruto and that little Hinata as drink or 10. Why I never dash and you will continue to never so we can get on with this meeting. Tsunade eyed both Hayashi and Tsum, watching them both relax back into their seats. Better. Hayashi huffed, I still don't trust that boy. Well, your feelings on the matter are biased, so I'll take that into account. Tsunade turned back to the rest of the table, letting her own plans be known. For now I do not plan to take any action whatsoever. Yuzushio is an ally and thus, we wouldn't condemn them in the first place. The fire daimyo agrees with my assessment. At this point, the only one who might speak up worth noting is of course the lightning daimyo. But with no military to speak of outside of whatever ragtag force he can put together, we don't care. Shikaku did raise a hand again, wanting to point out a good point made by a shitty person. A land expansion wouldn't be a bad idea to consider, given the circumstances. Shibi was quick to rebut him, that would require us to go through the land of hot water, another ally to Yuzushio. Well, good thing I meant it when I said Konoha would not be taking any action regarding this. Tsunade shared a hard look with everyone in the room. Even the so far quiet Inoichi. Konoha is to wait, see where the dust settles and focus on our current projects. One of which is some goodwill assistance to the land of rain. That got Hayashi to speak up once more, and why should we be helping that backwater of all places? Doesn't that terrorist group hail from there? I hate to agree. Tsum resisted the urge to spit onto the floor, but Lord Hyuga has a point. Why are we helping them? Tsunade sighed, leaning back as she considered how to word this. Peace. Seeing questioning and curious faces turned towards her, the elder Kage began to elaborate. Rain has been the site of numerous proxy confrontations through the years. Villages, including our own, ran through and did battle in their lands, before leaving and letting the people of Rain pick up the pieces. Over and over again. We haven't once looked back and thought maybe to correct our past mistakes. But, the world is changing, people's hearts are changing. Perhaps it's time for us to do the same. So, get ahead of the curve, much as Yuzushio has then? I kinda like it. Shikaku sat back, considering it. Konoha could show themselves to be not the powerhouse nation, but the peaceful one. A softer solution to the suddenly very real threat of Yuzushio. Sure, did Yuzushio want peace more than anyone? Of course. But they had now shown they were willing to wipe out entire villages, while Konoha had not. It could be an interesting play. Tsunade watched as the rest of the table began to mutter over it, making plans while she sat back and waited. This is what she needed, them cooperating on something that would bring goodwill, not death. She'd have to thank that pervert of hers later. Well, if there's nothing else, this meeting is over then. Standing along with everyone else, Tsunade left, leaving behind the idle conversations that began to spring up behind her. Yes, they were interested in a new idea. Just what she wanted. The trip up the 3 floors back to her office was uneventful while her mind wandered over just how they would approach Rain with their offer to help. She could probably leave the particulars to everyone else, that was what a council was for. She would have to deal directly with their leader in the end though, which meant she would have to deal with pain. Peacefully at that. She could already feel the headache coming on. Opening her door, she decided her headache might have had another origin altogether. Jiraiya sat before her desk, laughing at something the other occupant of the room had most likely said. Naruto sat on her desk facing her, already shaking a rather large bottle of sake towards her. Hey there, Bachan. Took you long enough. You brat, what are you doing here? Don't you have a city to run? Naruto shrugged as she took the bottle from him, already pouring herself a glass as the door shut behind her. Surprisingly, clones are a big help in that. Plenty of spare time to see lovely women around the world. Oi. Tsunade's off limits, go stick your pecker somewhere else. Jiraiya grumbled as Naruto rolled around and sat in the chair next to him, the little punk. Don't you have enough? I should say yes, but. Naruto was grinning as he watched Tsunade come around her desk. He didn't miss the flush on her face. How about it, Tsunade? Wanna ditch the pervert for the younger version? It was always good to mess with Jiraiya, and it wasn't like the old pervert didn't deserve it. Jiraiya was already turning to the woman of his life. Will you please tell this brat to knock it off? Oh, I don't know, he's got me hooked. Maybe I should see what all the fuss is about. Tsunade grinned at the fear that crossed Jiraiya's face. Young men are just full of energy. Naruto cackled as Jiraiya looked ready to explode, but it was Jiraiya who turned to the younger man. I will skin you alive, just try it. Rolling her eyes and deciding men were stupid, Tsunade sighed and took a drink. Oh, that was nice, relax you old goat. You've got nothing to worry about. Naruto shook his own head as the pervert deflated. Kami pervy sage, I figured by now you'd know when I'm messing with you. Ignoring Jiraiya mumbling about smart-mouthed brats who should know better, Tsunade turned to Naruto. So Gaki, to what do we owe the visit? Just a house call or something serious? Never really knew with him. It could be anything depending on his mood. Little of both. Ino wanted to visit her parents, so she's out and about in the village. Hinata is here too, said she needed to have a word with Hayashi. Something about Hanabi-chan and Konohamaru? You know anything about that? At Tsunade's snort of laughter, Naruto sighed heavily. Do I want to know? No one should get in the way of young love. Well, I won't deny that. Naruto surely wouldn't. He'd offer a prayer for Konohamaru all the same. Hyuga women were not for the weak. Oh, and as per usual, there's a Riptide team with her. They'll be good. Leaning back in his chair, Jiraiya eyed the young leader next to him. So, what are you really here for, Naruto? You would have sent the girls under escort if they just wanted to visit their families. Maybe I don't trust Hayashi to pull something stupid? Normal people wouldn't put it past Naruto to be cautious. Even if Hinata could probably put down everyone left in the Hyuga clan by herself, and Ino. Well. He didn't want to think about the damage she could pull off. Jiraiya isn't taking the bait, After hearing about a certain mountaintop village that was just wiped off the map. No one is trying anything. Especially here. Ah, right. That. Naruto sighed. He should have known he couldn't bluff his way out of this one. Just wanted to give you a courtesy heads up, I'll be headed to Rain soon. Need to have a word with Pain. You think that's a good idea, Naruto? Showing actual concern, Tsunade leaned forward to come back into the conversation. Two Rinnegan users in one place didn't sound like a good mix. Is there anything I do that seems particularly wise? Naruto chuckles as Tsunade gives him a disgruntled look. I'll be safe. The girls would skin me alive if I started a fight now. Jiraiya smirked as he pointed a half-empty glass at the teen. I'm sure those girls would bring you back just to kill you again if you started a fight you couldn't win. Like there's anyone alive that could give me any real trouble. Tsunade had her own matching smirk as she finished her own drink. I'll make sure to tell that to Hinata. She's such a sweet girl. Nearly panicking, Naruto gave Tsunade a pleading look. You wouldn't. You love me, Bachan. Oh, do I? You sure? But, Coastal Beach House. Oh, I suppose I do. Jiraiya shook himself. There's no way you're that easily bought off. I have grandchildren to spoil soon. I'm giving the hat to Shikaku. Tsunade's smile grew as Jiraiya coughed into his drink. Good, the goat could still suffer a surprise or two. Turning back to Naruto, Tsunade offered him a more genuine smile. You'll come back safely, right? Of course, I've got too much to live for. And this is a peaceful talk. Well, it's supposed to be. They better be. I won't put up with it if something goes wrong. Tsunade grumbled as she refilled his glass and then her own. Now you sound like the girls. Naruto took a sip as Tsunade offered him a sly smirk. I'm keeping you far away from Mei. Older women were scary. You started this, don't shy away when you've won the game. Tsunade shared a grin with the brat before relaxing back in her chair. Life certainly was good at the moment. And be nice, Jiraiya went through the effort of offering an olive branch to Rain. I'll keep that in mind. Finishing his drink, Naruto stood and bowed to both of the elders. I'll be seeing you around, Bachan, pervert. And then he was gone, leaving Tsunade to contemplate her life while Jiraiya sighed and turned his eyes to her. Hime. Oh hush, I'm tired. This chair wasn't a long-term plan for me anyway. We need some younger blood here. Someone who can see how the world is moving. I'm over it all, and I want my rest. Jiraiya stood, coming around to gently lay a hand on her shoulder. Some would say you running away for a few decades would count as rest. And anyone brave enough to say that to my face would be a brave fool. Tsunade huffed but enjoyed the gentle shoulder massage. That's nice. Hime? Tsunade rolled her neck to one side, hoping he'd take the hint and work a little higher. Could you not tease the boy so much? Chuckling, Tsunade placed a hand over his own. Don't be an idiot, he's old enough to be my son. Don't you mean you want to keep getting lucky, old man? Shutting up. Jiraiya was a pervert and rash sometimes, but he knew a warning when he heard it. Tsunade hummed and relaxed further. Good boy. Her thoughts strayed to peaceful days surrounded by a happy and burgeoning family. Maybe it could actually happen this time. Time stopped for no one after all, not even her. Scene change. It was with a whisper that Naruto found himself atop a tower, nearly 1,000 miles away from Konoha. Utilizing chakra to stay dry from rain's most common weather event, the Uzumaki considered what was to come. Would Pain let this happen? Fight him? Something in between? Naruto sure hoped not. He wasn't in the mood for a fight right now. I sure am. Rile him up a bit. I bet he'd give us a decent fight. I really do need to give you something better to do. Give me and the Matatabi a body, I'll have plenty to do then. Kurama chuckled as Naruto groaned but continued to look out over the sprawling and haphazardly repaired city. You okay, Naruto? These people deserve better than this. It's wrong what all the other nations have done here over the years. And now thanks to that sensei of yours, they're on the path to correcting those mistakes. Naruto did have to agree that Jiraiya had come up with a good idea, this time. Yeah, that's true. Guess I'll have to thank the old pervert later. Let's not get too hasty now. He still needs a beating. You just want to fight. Of course. Shaking his head at lunatic Biju, Naruto turned as he felt a presence appear behind him. Turning back and offering a glowing purple eye to another set of Rinnegan, Naruto grinned. Hello Pain, up for a chat. Is that why you're here, to talk? Naruto hadn't sent any type of communication in all this time. Pain had been content to keep the distance between them. But with Naruto here now, on the eve of the destruction of a major village, well. Strange things happened when one came into power. Do you still crave peace? Always and forever. I'll prefer the carrot to the stick any day of the week. Kumo would probably like a word. Here Naruto shrugged, he wouldn't deny what he did. But so too, he would not assume that Kumo didn't have it coming. They made their choice. They could have peace, or destroy themselves. They chose destruction, I was just the agent. Pain wanted to refute that, say Naruto was starting down the path that he had fallen down himself. But here, looking the other young man in the eye, he could see it. Naruto meant it. He truly did still hope for a real peace. Happy to give everyone a second chance. He just wasn't so naive to believe everyone would take it. Interesting. Well, what would you like to discuss, Naruto? Turning to face Pain fully, Naruto pointed a finger down towards the building, where he could feel odd chakra. You have the 4 tails. I need it. That sent a confusing mess of emotions to run through Pain. Just what do you need the 4 tails for? Are you not powerful enough? Or have you seen the light of what Akatsuki has been trying to accomplish? I'm not in it for power. I can say that much. And as for your group, nope. Still not in it to destroy nations willy-nilly. In fact, I still completely rebuke your plan. We don't need more bloodshed, more violence. Shared understanding can still come from mutual trust and everyday effort. At least, that's what I believe. Naruto held out a hand to Pain, open and inviting. I'd like you to join me, unless that's too big a step for a worn-down Uzumaki like you. Sniffing at the reminder of his own blood, Pain watched that hand warily. I've renounced that name, once I even knew what it was. I may share your blood, but not your ideals. Life. Life isn't as sacred as you believe. Naruto still held out his hand, a grin on his face. I figured as much. It's why you and I can't see eye to eye in the end. That isn't even your body, right? Shrugging his pain flinched once more, Naruto pressed on, but I'm still here all the same. Offering a hand in friendship, of peace. Considering it and remembering his own words to Jiraiya and Konan, Nagato reached forward and clasped hands with Naruto. For the record, I will take you to task if you threaten Rain. Heh, think you can keep up with me? Wanna give it a go? Naruto noted the firm grip, before Nagato backed away with a grin of his own. Another day perhaps. I admit you have a certain talent for surprises. Turning to lead the way back down into the tower, Nagato led the way to the elevator, opening the doors and waiting for Naruto to join him. Be that as it may, do me one favor. Naruto clasped his hands behind his back, rocking on his heels slightly. Sure. What's up? Leave Konan alone, if you would. Ignoring the cackling from Kurama, Naruto gave Nagato a tired look. I really wish those rumors would die. I'm not some wife-stealing monster on the prowl for every beautiful woman in the world. Just in case, I'm making sure. Nagato's grin grew as the doors opened, Konan staring at them with wide eyes as she noticed both Rinnegan users were within striking distance of each other and it hadn't come to blows. Sir? Konan, we're going down. Surprise clearly on her face, Konan moved to join them in the elevator. As you wish. Stepping in and moving to the back of the car, she eyed up Naruto with a cautious eye. Naruto hummed as the elevator returned to its downward trip, though a thought came to the forefront. Why'd you finally agree to help me? I made a promise. Oh? Grunting, Nagato stood a bit straighter. Yes, a promise. I will follow your lead in this, because you have seen a better path that I could not. So if you have concluded that you need the four tails, well, I shall give it to you. He looked to the blonde Uzumaki. You have a talent for the unorthodox. Is that a fancy way of saying I do crazy shit? Konan smiled, leaning forward just a bit. That would in fact be his way of saying that. Smirking, Naruto turned back to the blue-haired beauty. Well, isn't he just lucky to have you to explain things? Lip twitching, Nagato huffed, and you said they were rumors. I've done nothing, yet. Rolling his eyes as the elevator made its destination, doors opening as they stopped finally, Nagato walked out into the massive underground space. Naruto whistled as he walked into the cavern, taking in the sight of the massive statue that rose above them. Well, that's creepy as well. Konan nodded, walking forward to stand next to Nagato's main body, attached to the statue via control rods. May I introduce, Nagato? His real body. Naruto came forward, nodding and looking the man up and down. Well, no offense, but you look like shit. Huffing and ignoring the spike of pain it brought, Nagato turned sunken eyes towards Naruto. You really have no manners, do you? Looking up at the statue above him, Nagato sighed and wished his body was stronger. This is the Geto Mazo. The remnants of the Ten Tails that even to this day craves to be reunited with its lost chakra. I'm connected to it both to keep it sealed, and to have the power to make my will a reality. Naruto hums at that, walking around the statue and getting a feel for it, and the Four Tails is sealed away inside of it so far? Yes. Humming again, Naruto came to stand before Nagato again. Alright, so I guess I'm taking the Geto then. I do not see how you will accomplish that. I am connected to it. If I were to leave, it would partially awaken. I'm not worried about that. So, you saying I can have it if I can control it? Nagato shared a look with Konan, who offered him another smile and a nod. Well, nothing ventured, he supposed. Yes, the Geto and the Four Tails are yours. Perfect. One hand shooting forward, Naruto grinned at the white chains that burst from his jacket sleeve, winding up and around the statue before seals burned away into its surface. And done. Feeling something change, the pull on his chakra gone, Nagato watched Naruto with some concern. What have you done? Shrugging and forcing the black control rods to retract from Nagato's back, Naruto watched Konan catch him with concern in her eyes. What I said I would do, taking the Geto and the Four Tails. With some effort, the Geto was sealed away, another more tightly controlled pocket dimension, much like Zetsu's. He didn't want a chance for time to pass and the Geto to go through some unforeseen change. And with this, you have a new lease on life, and I have some free time finally. Helping Nagato to his feet, Konan watched Naruto turn to leave. Just like that? What about us? What do you plan to do now? Naruto considered them both for a moment. What I've always done. Strive for peace. Well, that, and make sure the world doesn't get destroyed by some idiots with more power than brains. Seeing the confusion on their faces, Naruto again shrugged. It's hard to explain, but it involves a goddess from an old fairy tale and reincarnation. But, for us, what will happen to Rain? Turning fully back to them, Naruto considered what it was she was really saying. Snapping his fingers, the hell path rose from the ground, grabbing Nagato from her to drag him into its mouth to chew him up. Not getting the same reaction out of her, she calmly watched as he spat out the complete and whole Nagato at her feet. And one free healing, courtesy of yours truly. Say Conan, you ever get tired of that one, you come and find me, Uzushio would love to have you. Chuckling as that sounded much like Lord Jiraiya, Conan shook her head. I think, my place will always be here. I understand what you want to say. Suit yourself. Uzushio is going to be joining Konoha, by the way. In sending aid to Rain, I mean. Sure, we never were part of the wars that tore your country apart, but we'd like to offer our assistance all the same. So, watch the skies. And then Naruto was gone, flashing away back home after a fairly productive day. Rising to his feet with some help, Nagato marveled at his healed body. It had been a long time since he had been free of the ghetto. He had almost forgotten what moving freely through his own body felt like. Quietly he eyed his puppet, Yahiko. Conan? Yes, Nagato. Let's lay Yahiko to rest. I think he deserves that. Feeling tears beginning to bud at her eyes, Conan nodded quickly. I think that is long overdue. And Conan? Yes? Thank you, for staying by my side all this time. Nagato shared a smile with the woman, who leaned in to hug him softly. I'll always be by your side, Nagato. This was good. Conan would have to thank Naruto later, for giving her back her best friend. Scene change. Arg, what a day. Stretching his arms up over his head, Naruto stood in the entryway of his home as he felt out with his senses. The sun was setting, which meant mostly everyone was back home. Checking on things also gave him a little warning as Karen speared him in the middle with a tackle. It saved him from being tossed to the floor. You're home. Giggling and hugging the man a bit tighter, Karen cooed as Naruto wrapped his own arms around her in turn. Where did you run off to all day? Honestly, a little of everywhere. Beginning to walk down the main hall towards the living room, Naruto nudged the redhead under his arm. What be you been up to? Today? Not much. Gave Isaribi access to Fuafua again. Dumb name. Get over it. The Zosensho are looking to launch their first ship construction soon, you should be here for that. Getting a nod from Naruto, Karen adjusted her glasses a bit, and finally, we got some news from Naruto and the others. They should be headed back soon. Well, that's some good news. Naruto let Karen open the sliding door to the sitting room, taking in the sight of most of the family all together. He could just make out Ino out back, with a few of the other younger Uzumaki girls plotting about the garden. And was that sort of further away training? Sure looked like it. Man. It's good to be home. Karen dragged him by the hand. It's good to have you home. Looking over at the distraction, Tayuya was already pointing a finger at him. You. Me. The academy is asking for an appearance from you, think you can handle that? Nodding along as Naruto is guided to the couch, settling in between Karen and Anoka. Yeah, I'll swing by tomorrow. Probably good so I can check in with the Zosensho. He easily accepted Anoka leaning into his side with a sigh and a smile. A happy-looking Hinata and Kotoheim both were leaning out from the kitchen, Hinata taking the lead. Dinner will be ready shortly, everyone. Just a little longer. And then they were gone, back to preparations with Kikyo. Relaxing back and staring up into the ceiling, Naruto thought about his day. Iwa. Konoha. Rain. Hell, at this point, he might as well go and hit up Rice or something. Well, maybe tomorrow. The girls might be a little cross with him if he disappeared. Plus, he had something else to get up to. Leaning over and kissing first Anoka and the Karen, Naruto extracted himself and made for the back door. I'll be right back. Tayuya watched him go with a keen eye. Nothing insane, right? You can't miss dinner. Naruto gave her a thumbs up. I'm staying on the grounds, I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Are Sasuke and the others coming? Getting giggles from the girls, Naruto sighed. Maybe I'll offer a prayer for the edgelord later. Tayuya waved him off. Might be a good idea. Hurry up, unless you want some company. I'll be right back, promise. That said, Naruto jogged out into the yard, waving to a couple of the Uzumaki girls while avoiding an attempted sneak attack by the young Suda. Grinning and launching the boy into the bushes with a carefully controlled blast of wind, Naruto was soon around the corner and out of sight of the others. "Think you're good to do this now?" Kurama's voice was quiet, cautious, and Naruto was quick to reassure him. "Better now, while I still have the nerve to do it." With a thought, his world shifted, another grayscale nothingness that only had one feature. The massive form of the Geto Mazo stood before him, one baleful eye staring out into the void. White sealing chains still holding, and equally white seals burned into its flesh. Granted, this thing is creepy as hell. It just radiated malice and death. A disdain for all living things. Best get started with what you have then. Right. Floating up and sitting atop the husk of the 10 tails, Naruto concentrated as he placed a hand down onto its great head. Separating a bit of chakra from himself, a portion of the sambai, Naruto watched as another eye opened. So we don't need all of their chakra then. Just pieces will do. Probably for the best. That means we can keep it, and by extension her, weak. A full-strength goddess did not sound like a good idea. Nodding along and continuing the process with the rest of the chakra portions that he had collected up to this point, Naruto slowly felt something begin to shift. Both in himself and in the statue under him. Something to keep an eye on, he supposed. Finishing up and jumping away, Naruto looked up to all of the open eyes, all but one. "Guess we'll need Gyuki then. Best wait for that. You know your women will skin you alive if you hurry this process up." Shuddering but refusing to look away from the monster that was the Geto, Naruto sighed and readied himself to flash away. "You aren't wrong. Guess we'll save Killer Bee and Gyuki for another day. Say, a week tops?" "A week sounds good. Your sister should be back by then and we can have a decent fight again. Can't you get excited about something else? Why couldn't you be a foodie or something?" "Bah, you'll be just like me one day, little brother, just you wait." Omake nestled safely in his office as the sun was beginning to set. Naruto counted his life right in this moment as pretty amazing. His people, and wasn't that always such a gas to say, were happy and safe. They respected him, damn near worshipped him. He led a nation where children could run and play freely, with no fear of danger or harm. They still had a steady influx of migrants, further boosting their numbers, and the city was expanding and growing. Even today, there were calls for the tower to be expanded upwards, skyscrapers becoming taller as more people moved here. And yet he still sometimes received a surprise or two. Some were more mundane, while others were a bit out of left field. As his office floor cleared out for the evening and he finished up some last-minute filing of his own, his door creaks open. Having been considering flashing away back home, he's slightly surprised to see Onoka walking in, closing the door behind her with a soft click. Bathed in the orange light of the sunset, Onoka adjusts the orange and blue cheapao she was currently wearing as she walked up to Naruto's desk. "Evening, Naruto, almost done with work?" Taking in the exaggerated sway of her hips and the lack of either armor or weapons, Naruto was more than a little curious about just what Onoka was doing here so late. Maybe to drag him home? "Yeah, I was coming home in just a minute, honest." The girls had been saying he worked too much. Maybe they were getting fed up with him for making them wait. "Oh, it's okay, I wasn't worried. In fact, I was hoping to catch you here." Smirk still in place, Onoka trailed fingers along his desk as she walked around to his side. "I've missed you." Naruto smiled at her as he watched her pat his way. "I've missed you too. Sorry I've been so busy. Should we grab dinner, call it a date night?" Onoka began fiddling with the ties of her dress. "While something spontaneous would be nice, I had something else in mind for right now." Coming to his side and facing him, the silk fabric fell to the floor. Eyes trailing up and down the expanse of flesh before him, Naruto noted the orange two-piece bikini that would not have been public approved. Swallowing hard, he idly noted he could see a glowing seal on the door. His office was very locked. "Well then." Onoka a finger was placed on his lips as said woman climbed into his lap. "I've been waiting and I think I've had enough." Here she leaned in and brushed warm lips over his ear. "So I'm here to have you all to myself for the remainder of the night." Leaning back, she unsealed a small bottle and pulled the top free. "Onoka, if you wanted some time alone, all you had to do was ask." Watching her take a drink and swallowing, he accepted a kiss from her all the same. Swallowing as she forced whatever she had down his own throat, Naruto pulled away with a gasp. "Onoka." Giggling and almost with literal hearts in her eyes, Onoka was already leaning back in to press herself against him. "Thanks to Karen and Lady Tsunade, I am on every fertility drug we could think of." Today is a very unsafe day, and I have enough food and drink to feed an army sealed away. Pressing her forehead to his, her smile widened. We are not leaving this office until I am well, and truly, pregnant. Feeling his own heart start to race and coming to the conclusion that it had been an aphrodisiac she slipped him, Naruto decided that well. It was good to be king. You could have just asked. I wanted to surprise you, did it work? Making a show of looking around, Naruto smirks and pulls the woman further into him, color me well and truly surprised. My wife came to me in my favorite colors and an offer I wouldn't dare refuse. Pausing to kiss her hotly, both teens pulling into each other a bit more, Naruto pulled away with a gasp. You really think you're gonna keep up with me all night? Shut up and put a baby in me. Kissing her love hotly again, she was a woman on a mission. Outside his office, Samui sits and shuffles papers around. She has a feeling that they forgot she was out here. Oh well, it certainly was interesting, as she readied herself to leave. It didn't take long for things to start up, and Anoka was quiet loud. No. She wasn't going to join that madhouse. One time of fun was more than enough for her, and she certainly didn't want to end up like Yujito. A woman in denial. Leaving, she wonders what Yujito was up to tonight. Maybe they could hit the town for drinks.